Good morning. All right, girls. Good morning. All right, a little early start today. Wake us up on this beautiful morning and afternoon for my Europeans. All right, good morning, everybody. Big topic today. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be gay. All right, pausing Samantha Dragonati's music in 1, 2, 3, big stop. All right, good morning, everyone. Had a great members live show yesterday. Thank you guys for being members and being there. We covered the toxicity and poly communities, and moving off of this topic, something I want to talk about today is alternative communities not fully letting go of the bubbles they were raised in, right? Trying to update, reform, or modernize systems that shouldn't even be upheld. Okay, let's talk about it. So today we're going to do Christianity. And I just need to disclaimer here. I'm not a very anti-religious person. Like, I'm not one of those militant atheist type of people. But I do believe that if a human being deconstructed, pulled things apart, really examined why they came to the conclusion to follow the man known as Jesus Christ, they would probably hit a wall, which would lead them out of that decision, right? With that said, I don't want our channel, our community here to be like a anti-religious community. I want our channel here to talk about how to, not out of anger, but out of a thrill and a joy for education, how we want to move ourselves into a better knowing, right? So sometimes, you'll see me sit here and really support like Muslims who are being attacked by Christians. And it's not because I'm pro-Islam. It's because I don't want to hear one bigoted religion be anti another bigoted religion. Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear Christians talk about how Islam isn't a good religion. Like, none of y'all have a good religion, but the freedom to practice that religion, I think, should be there. That doesn't mean I want to encourage communities of people to deconstruct why these religions aren't good for us, right? They're just not good for us. Anything that tells you like how a baby is born will dictate that baby's future is not good for us. And that's all what these patriarchal religions are. These Abrahamic religions in particular, that's all they are. Okay? They're simplified, reductive constructs around binary genders that say that your baby being born in a specific body and then assigned a specific gender will then dictate the future of that child, right? And, people might say to me, Brittany, if you're going to go after Christianity, Christians are the most attacked people in the United States. Like, people always attack Christians. Why aren't you attacking other religions? I was raised Catholic. I'm a confirmed Catholic person. I'm a followed away Catholic. I was confirmed. My saint name is Elizabeth Ann Seton. Okay. Covered this in the last podcast. I left the church at 19, never went back. I'm 36. I use Christianity and Catholicism to have this conversation today as a queer because I grew up Catholic. If I grew up Muslim, I would have used the Islam as the example, but I didn't grow up Muslim. And so it feels silly for me as a former Christian Catholic to sit here and use Islam as the reason why patriarchal religions aren't good for women or gay people when I could just use the one I was raised in. So everything I say today can be applied to any Abrahamic patriarchal religion. Okay, so anything I say today, just like adapt it into your own bubble because you know what I mean? Like so I'm going to speak from that perspective today. So I've got a ton of content to show you. We want to go through it today. If you guys have anything to say, obviously say it in the comment sections down below. And then of course, or in the comment sections down below, like this isn't a live stream. Well, okay. You can also say this once the live stream is posted. You can put it in there too. But I want us to have the discussion because what I keep seeing, what actually is increasingly frustrating to me is seeing Christian gay people talk about reforming the church. What are we doing? And I've had this stance since I left the church. Why are we reforming religion instead of eradicating it? Not through force, but through liberation. Again, you can eradicate something from the cultural zeitgeist through education. It doesn't have to be through force. So why is women or femme people or AFAB people, why aren't we, or gender fluid people, trans people, whatever you are, like, why are we trying to update religion. Why are we watching Mormon Wives, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and these Mormon wives are fighting the patriarchy? Why aren't they just leaving the church? Why aren't they actually just talking about getting rid of Mormonism? Because their family and friends are Mormon, they love them, and they think getting rid of the religion means getting rid of the people they love. Guys, if we got rid of the religions, the people we love would be liberated out of them. But at the same time, I don't want to force somebody not to be religious. So this is where the balancing act of humility comes in. We do not want to become militant or intolerant or hateful. We do not want religious people to suffer. This is very important. I, Brittany, do not want religious people to suffer. I do not want religious people to ever be persecuted because of their religion. But your religion being bigoted does not then, free you from the criticism that I'm about to lay out today, girls. Okay. So I don't know if you saw this, but there is this gay guy going around. I'm sorry, a former gay guy going around talking about going gay to Christian. And there's like a whole bubble on TikTok about young gay men or young trans people detransitioning. We know about the detransitioners, but this is like specifically like gay to Christian pipeline. And I saw this TikTok and I'm going to use him to start off the conversation and then we'll continue forward. Okay. And if, again, you have comments or questions, like, let me know. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Came a point where my heart wanted to have both. If you lie to yourself long enough, it becomes your truth. I told myself, and I would hear these stories from other people who would say, well, you can be gay and Christian. You can be bi and Christian. Like, why can't you be both? Like, doesn't God love everyone? So that's
he made you like that.
Exactly. So it kind of became, oh, well, what if, is that true? Like, and so I would start looking for verses or theologies to justify that. I was very vocal about it. I was very proud of it, right? Because that was kind of the culture you have in the city. If you are gay or bi, you advertise it. It's who you are, right? So there was a part of me where I wanted Jesus, but I still wanted the lifestyle that I had.
Would you call yourself at that time a gay Christian? Would you kind of started to believe in that, or you were in a process?
Because there was this conviction in my heart where I just couldn't do it.
Oh, so you knew that you can't be a gay Christian.
There was something in my heart where I knew I couldn't, and there came a point.
Okay, so again, everyone is on a journey. Everyone is doing their thing of self-discovery. We always, some of us go back and forth. Some of us go in and out. I can't tell you how many gay people I know who, when they feel isolated in conservative communities, resort to praying again or resort to going back to the thing they were raised in. I don't blame you. Okay. When I was living around my conservative family during lockdown, when I was socializing with them, even they started to think I was going to become more conservative. And I was like, no, y'all, I'm just socializing with you. When I go back to my house, when I go back to my bubble, I'm not this way. It's just when we're around group activity and group bubbles, we tend to just start acting like everybody else because it's what we're comfortable with and what we're around. But I think there's something to be said about knowing where you are on the journey, okay? And communicating that to people, but also realizing like so many people are closeted, right? Like so many of us don't have very many choices. Like so many of us, we socialize the way we are doing so we don't ruffle feathers during a get together. And I don't think Christian religious people, at least in my background, understand how much work we do to adhere to their standards. So as an example, I don't cuss when I'm around my parents or in my brother's like religious homes because it's offensive to them, right? But they are allowed to talk about like being anti-gay, or they're allowed to talk about like how much, they're conservative. And a big part of it is because we're in their homes. But funny enough, they won't come to our homes. So I've been thinking about this, like, my brother one time asked my sister to take artwork down and has asked me in the past to take artwork down that was on our walls because like it was too offensive to his religion. My parents would not come to my house with these nude posters on my wall, right? And I think about like, I don't care. Like, I need you to know, I do not care that you won't come to my house. I'm not taking down my art. You know what I mean? I might have done it in the past just to make like peace for sure. But that's because that's my value. My value says to be a good host. My value says to be kind to people and to invite people into your home. And at the same time, eventually it comes down to, we need to have a discussion about what that means. The fact that you're not coming to my house because of this work, I understand that perspective. In the same way, I wouldn't want to go to someone's house who had like a Confederate flag flying. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, why the fuck is that on your wall? So like, I'm not sitting here saying that I wouldn't do the same thing. The question is, where do we draw the line in terms of building community, being kind to others, and putting down our foot because of our values, right? And then, of course, I understand that, you know, to some extent, like maybe nude art feels different to people than like maybe a gay flag in the house. But either way, some people will find what they find offensive. The question is, what are we going to do when forming a community to sort of have that relationship with people, right? But I think for me, what I've noticed is that liberal people make more of an effort to be welcoming and tolerant to conservative people than conservative people do to liberal people. And a big part of it is because conservatives, based off their standard, depending on how strict they're being, well, for them, it's like a sin if they engage with the behavior. Versus liberals, it's not a sin for us to be nice to religious people. And that's the biggest difference. This is why I say gay people should not be Christian. Like, you need to move away from Christianity. Women should not be Christian. To be Christian and to be loving to your neighbor is in many ways a sin. Even though people like to co-opt, like Jesus was a hippie, Jesus was loving, Jesus said, love thy neighbor. Like, I just want to say to people who do not grow up religious, like, you have to understand, Jesus embracing Mary Magdalene wasn't also embracing her being a whore. Like, he did not embrace Mary Magdalene so she would keep being a sex worker, right? Like, you must understand that when they say Jesus dined with the tax collectors and the sex workers, it wasn't because he was pro sex work and like chill with tax collection, right? It was because he wanted to be kind to them in order to convert them. He wanted them to walk away and come join him. Okay? So just like think about that. Like, think about that idea. Thank you, Chad says the inverted cross earrings are on point today. Thank you so much. I bought them for a photo shoot I did of like a goth nun. And I was like, oh my God, I'm bringing out my cross earrings like for today's stream. Okay? Yes, chat, he wants to save them. So a Christian will be kind to you as long as they think you're converting. The moment they realize you're not going to convert, now we have problems. Versus like, as a gay progressive person, like, I don't really care if you're not going to be gay or progressive. Like, I don't think about it, but I think that it's worse for you and your kids in the world. Because in many ways, like, your religion is bigoted. And bigotry is just not good. It's not good. And we're going to cover that today. So, okay, that's the first video I want to show you. Check out this video. Okay. Actually, hold on. Okay, here's this video.
You guys, we need to remember that mercy triumphs over judgment. There is a reality of sin, and we don't want to ignore that. We don't want to pretend that there is no sin. Sin is real and it separates. But we want to remember that, yes, acting on homosexual desires is sin, but there's a lot of heterosexual sin as well. One doesn't erase the other, but sin is sin. Whatever type of sin it might be, it does bring separation. And so we want to remember the truth of who God is, his promise to us, his never-ending, unfailing love. And really, I think the question remains, will we surrender to that love? Will we trust in his goodness? You guys, we need.
I'm not even going to play with you. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, look, a lesbian. She has like a rainbow flag, right? She looks like a lesbian. I was like, oh, a lesbian sister in Christ. And then I clicked on the video and I was like, girl, now let's focus on this. I don't believe in sin. I don't believe in heaven and hell, obviously. So like, I believe in bad behavior. I believe in vices. I believe in like doing bad. I believe in tempting people to be bad, right? But like, I don't believe in the concept of a sin because I don't believe in the aftermath of that consequence, right? But I legit thought this woman was a lesbian. So I was like, okay. Now, this woman here is Mother Angelica. Does anybody know her? If you grew up Catholic, you probably watch EWTN, which is the Catholic channel. And this is Mother Angelica. Okay, so I grew up my whole life watching this little nun do her thing. Listen to this.
What is your question?
Well, Mother, I'm gay and find it difficult to be gay and Catholic. And I was just wondering if you have any suggestions of what I should do.
Well, when a person says, I am gay, which you just said, it's hard to understand what you mean. Do you mean you have the inclination? Well, you can certainly be a very wonderful Catholic and have the inclination. Now, if you say you're actively gay, it's impossible Why? Because to be actively gay is to commit grave sin, see? It is to go against the law of God. What is your...
Okay, so this is why I take religion like pretty seriously in a sense, because as a non-religious person, I was so serious when I was in it. Maybe it was the autism, but I was like very serious about being religious. Like we were going to go full on in, right? The thing is, and this is the thing, first, to believe in Christ, you would have to believe Jesus was a man who walked earth and was the Lord himself. You have to believe this man born of a carpenter and a virgin is indeed Jesus, like the Lord. And I don't believe that. The question is, why do women believe that? And why do gay people believe that? And why do minorities believe that? Listen, I'm not going to speak on it because I'm not a black person, but I have black content creators speaking on it. Why would black people enslaved by Christians follow Christ? Make it make sense, y'all. Like, make it make sense. And these girls are going to explain it, but literally, why would you do this? Why would you follow the God of your slavers? Like, make it make sense, right? So the same Christians that believe God was giving them the right to enslave you converted you by force into this religion, and then you maintained it. And that's the issue I have. Why are minorities following this man? And I know this whole argument about whether Jesus was a white man. Does it matter? If he was a white man, he was still a man on earth who claimed to be God. Who cares if Jesus was white or not? You see how this is a distraction? Everyone is so busy arguing if Jesus was white. Who cares? Who fucking cares? You only care because it's a distraction. Oh, Jesus wouldn't be anti-gay. Who cares if Jesus would be anti-gay or not? It's still a dude born of a woman claiming to be God. Like, you're still doing the thing. You're so focused on the aftermath. Deconstruct all the way to the beginning. A man born of a woman claims he is God. Stop there. Who cares what he did after? Do you believe this man is God? Do you believe this man was God? Sometimes on my, my levels of introspection, people will say, Brittany, do you think Jesus was a 5? Are you asking me if a man who convinced the population around him that he was a God performing miracles is a 5? Like, what are we talking about? Because people think of Jesus as Lord. They think of him as a fictional character, right? That like, oh, you're judging him off being a fictional character, which I will engage with you. If you want to judge Jesus and the apostles as like fictional characters in a story, and you want to talk about their relationship, we can have that conversation. But as far as we know, if you mean the literal man, Jesus Christ, no, this man at most, right? At most was a grifter. Like at most was just a con artist. So I don't know what we're talking about here. Okay. Like, what does that even mean? Okay. Next video.
Tired of acting like people who are religious. I'm so tired of acting like people who are religious, especially Christians, are not stupid. Y'all sound fucking ridiculous.
Okay, wait. We're not going to be mean today. Listen to me. I don't think Christians are stupid, but I do think they're bigoted. And I think Abrahamic religions are bigoted. And I think bigotry is stupid. So if you're a bigot, I do think you're stupid, but I don't think you're not capable of making intelligent decisions. I think bigoted people are very smart, but I think it's stupid to be bigoted. And you need to figure that out. If you cannot handle that sentence and you don't know what that means, then you might just be stupid. Because it makes sound sense to be intellectual, to be smart, and to make stupid decisions, because bigotry in itself is stupid. I just need you to process that being smart doesn't mean you make good decisions. Okay?
All these feminists, they want to say, let's stand strong and like we're women and we control our body, my choice. It's really not. It's God's choice at the end of the day. And we need to stand firm as women to say, I am standing with what the Bible says, not with what these feminists say, not with what the world says, because God says what I should be doing with my body because he created it. He's the one that told me to stay modest, to dress modestly. If the Bible says to not do it, I'm not going to do it. If the Bible says to dress modestly, I'm going to dress modestly and I'm going to value my body because God gave it to me. That's God's gift to me. He created me in the image of himself. He created you in the image of himself. So why would I go and pervert it? We're perverting God's body.
Someone in the comments said, what does God say about lip filler? I was going to say, what does God say about plastic surgery? Listen, no judgment. Okay. But this is the Christianity we're talking about today. This is the Jesus we're talking about today. Okay. We're talking about a fundamental religion that deconstructed, ends up being about a man claiming to be a God. And you know what I mean? Having you follow him, right? Put down your things and follow me. That's the man we're talking about today. Okay. That's the conversation we're having today. Let's see. Hold on. Let me read some comments so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves here. It says it's a hierarchy. God is the ultimate master and the kings were placed there as his chosen, and you understand the hierarchy from there. So exactly. So deconstruct that hierarchy and what do you get, right? Misogyny. Chat says, but can the miracles psychoanalyze the resurrection, the walking on water, the virgin birth, all of them analyzed, like, for example, Jordan Peterson has done? Listen, I love Jesus. I love Jesus so much that he cured my wife of cancer. Ethan, follow Jesus Christ, you Jew. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Listen. The greatest thing about story is that we learn about ourselves through story. I remember I did a Discord event. I don't remember what the initial theme was. Maybe you guys will remember more than I would. We did a Discord event about I think it was the letters of Paul, or I don't remember. But I went into that event really excited to talk about the Bible through a fictional lore, like Lord of the Rings, and then learning from it. And some people showed up just thinking about it quite literally, about how stupid it was. Both are right? You can talk about it through a literal lens and it's this is so stupid. Or you can talk about it through a fictional lens, like Lord of the Rings, and think oh, what's the lesson here about Frodo going up the mountain and Sam saving him and Gollum, what's the lesson here that we're learning? And the dilemma once again is it is easy to see the good in religion. So much so that you ignore the bad. And it is so easy to believe in churches and religions and claim anything that bad happens is corruption. My mom always says, because my parents are very, very Catholic, they'll say, oh, the corruption in the church, that's because of sin. That has nothing to do with the church. That all the molestation, all the child predator stuff, that's liberal media. That's gay men. They will blame gay people on the corruption in the Catholic Church. They will literally blame homosexuality. And this is why God gave them 3 gay kids. Make that make sense, okay? Let's see. Chet says most of them are ignorant of the reality of the religion, but the ones who aren't are at best trapped within the framework of the religion itself and are worse malicious. Yeah, I agree. It's like you're either incredibly malicious or you're so locked in. I used to joke because I have a priest friend, and I used to joke if I ever became Catholic, I'd become one of the best Catholics. But the truth is that oh look, we have a spammer in the chat. Chat says, I don't think you would ever make a video with the title Decentering Allah, why women and LGBT folks should walk away from Islam. Well, you must have missed the beginning of stream, and I'll say it again, because I didn't grow up Muslim, stupid. Well, I don't even know anything about Islam. Why would I do a video like that? Stupid. I grew up Catholic, but anything I say here can be absolutely applicable to Islam. But you're stupid. You're literally dumb. You're literally brain dead. Okay? I did not grow up Muslim. Why would I speak on it? I don't know anything about Islam. I literally did not. I've never read the Quran. I've never read the Quran. Why would I speak on it? Because you're stupid. And you think, because you think, oh, Brittany's afraid of Muslims. You think I'm afraid of my fellow Arab cousins? I love Muslim people, but not because they're Muslim. I love them because they're people. But yeah, their religion is patriarchal and bigoted and transphobic and anti-gay. Yeah, I already talked about this at the beginning. But why would I talk about a religion when I've never even read their holy book? Why would I do that? But you know what I have read 1,000 times? The Bible. You know what I do know about? Christianity. You know what I was raised in? Catholicism. Do you know what Catholic church I went to? A Catholic one. Do you know what school I went to? Catholic school. Okay. You stay in your lane, people. Know your bubbles. Stay in your lanes, okay? So nice try, girls. Nice try. Next video, talking about Islam.
Already an amazing mother. I pick her up to play with her. Watch this. Her sandals kick my clothes. She cleans it. She dabs it up. You see? Look at that. And she doesn't look. She does it with happiness. They say oppressed.
This chat says Muslims are brown, so you would never. Okay, I'm going to ban you. Because my people are literally from Iraq. Not all Muslims are brown. If they're all brown, I guess I'm a Muslim. I guess I am too. Like, you guys are so dumb. You're so dumb. Banned.
That's what they say, huh? It's just different. It's family values. That's enough. Back in the cage.
Okay, obviously, like the funny thing about that video was like, she's a perfect wife already. Bro, she's 10. Relax. My brother in Christ, my brother in God, relax. Okay? But that's the problem with religion. No matter what your religion is, if you've already dictated your child's future based off gender, you're fucked. That's the problem with patriarchal religions. Before this girl has even hit puberty.
Amazing mother.
Okay. Like, that's all you're doing. Now, the text says 12-year-old, but like, there's no way this little girl is 12. I think the text is wrong. Okay. That's the dilemma. Same with men. You raise boys to die for like religions and governments. Like, you treat kids like they're objects. And that's what it is. Okay. That's the problem. Okay. That's the dilemma. All of these religions like have the audacity to dictate what your child's life is going to be like because of their gender. Like, so stupid. Okay. It's so stupid. So yeah, if you're a woman, you shouldn't be a part of these patriarchal religions. I mean, if you're a man, you shouldn't be a part of them, but I could at least see why you would join, because at least you'd be the top of the hierarchy. But then that just makes you a bad person. You know what I mean? It's so silly. It's so silly. Okay. Let me see. I want to associate this with something happening in the news right now. So, PBS was defunded by this fucking administration, which is so stupid because my whole life we grew up on PBS, which is just so silly. Literally, my parents' favorite shows to show us were PBS shows. And then they have the audacity to support this, administration. But basically, PBS is being replaced by PragerU. Okay. And we've shown this cartoon before, but I want to wrap this into why you have to deconstruct these religions. Okay.
Slave is better than being killed, no?
Okay, listen to this.
Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no?
Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? I need you to focus on this because this is the fundamental belief that Christians have that nobody pays attention to. Because growing up with a Catholic mother and father, my mother is a very well-read woman. Like, I need you to understand that my mother has read more books than I have, and I've read thousands of books. Okay? And I need you to process that, right? Okay, Chad says PBS are weirdos anyways. I will block you for PBS slander. Okay, if you PBS slander, I will block you. Okay? Okay, so here's the thing. And I say this as somebody who, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're putting a fine line today. Okay, because a lot of us were raised religious. A lot of us were raised with these homes. We know the difference between being well-read in the bubble and being well-read universally. My mother's a very well-read, okay? But yet, she also would say, because she loves Christopher Columbus, she thinks Christopher Columbus was like a Catholic hero, that he's been misrepresented in media, that he was actually a very good man and believed in Jesus and all of these things. But we know that's not true, right? But each bubble creates a narrative around their hero. And so she would say, and I think my parents would say, it is better to survive another day than to die. And yet they would say to die for what you believe in is everything. So they would say, and I know this was a myth around the Columbine shootings. I know this didn't happen. But the idea that they were going around asking Christians, like, do you believe in Jesus? And then killing them if they said no. My parents would always say, you shouldn't deny Christ like Peter did. Okay? So denying Christ was like a grave sin, but we give a lesson of Peter doing it 3 times as a way to say even Peter, who knew Christ so intimately, denied him because he was so afraid in his heart, right? And so Christopher Columbus being reworked through history is actually all tied to convincing even Black people that better for them to die or better for them to become enslaved than die, right? This is so stupid, but connect it with the Marvel Wakanda, where this happens in the conversation, where Michael B. Jordan's character literally says, like, people killed themselves than rather be enslaved. And there was something like, there's something to be said about that. Like, there's something to be said about this narrative of how they convince you to keep living another day to be enslaved, but also they romanticize the hardship of it, but then condemn you for wanting to die ahead of time. But also, like, there's so much here to deconstruct. It's really difficult because we're all like kind of traumatized generationally. So there's sort of a romanticization that comes in about the suffering that I think we need to pay attention to. And I believe you should suffer wisely. I think life is always going to have suffering, and to suffer wisely is everything. But that means you have to make better decisions to stop the unnecessary suffering. Okay. So look what's happening here with this reworking of Christopher Columbus, right?
I don't see the problem.
That's educational programming for kids from unaccredited conservative nonprofit PragerU, which is partnering with the White House right after deep funding cuts to PBS. Already, PragerU videos are approved for use in classrooms across several states, though most districts haven't implemented them, likely because the lessons are widely criticized for being factually inaccurate. The material promotes a whitewashed history that minimizes and justifies slavery, pushes anti-LGBTQ+ and anti-diversity messaging, denies climate change, and is filled with misinformation and propaganda favoring right-wing ideology. But that makes sense since PragerU was founded by suspected white supremacist Dennis Prager, who complained about not being able to say the N-word in 2020. This is an example of their propaganda, which teaches that abolitionist and former enslaved person Frederick Douglass would have agreed with America's choice to prioritize white supremacy over ending slavery.
I'm certainly not okay with slavery, but the Founding Fathers made a compromise to achieve something great.
In June, the White House introduced PragerU as a new educational partner during the launch of its Founders Museum exhibit, where the org presented the nation's origin story. In one video at the exhibit, an AI John Adams borrowed Ben Shapiro's famous phrase,
"Facts do not care about our feelings,"
which is
Jesus fucking Christ.
It's ironic since conservatives have a lot of big feelings about facts. That's why they're trying to hide them. We don't know exactly what this partnership will look like, but the right accuses the left of indoctrinating students to justify their actual indoctrination, which is really nationalist mythology with no basis in truth.
Tell me that is not the craziest thing. Like, tell me that is not the craziest thing you've heard. Okay, so again, I didn't pull up this TikTok, but I saw a TikTok that said, I wouldn't be so anti-Christianity if it wasn't such a threat. That's what it is, guys. Like, I don't want to hear, this is why I'm so annoyed with atheists who spend all their time talking about Islam. Stop reworking your focus. The Richard Dawkins saying I'm culturally Christian, stop it. There is no difference between Islam and Christianity. That is a myth of the West. The myth of Christianity is that it is better than Islam. It is not. They are the same. Acting like they are different is the problem. And that's the trick. That's the manipulation. And so that's what they're doing. They're literally, and this is the funniest thing, these atheist white men who claim like, oh, they really care about logic and facts and freedom and girl, okay? Like, that's the problem. They're so stupid. They're so bigoted. They're so transphobic. They're so transphobic that they're sitting here not understanding that they're a part of the problem, except that they are. They're so patriarchal. They're so misogynistic, bro. The way they go after women, the way they go after minorities, like, don't get it twisted that these atheists who were so amazing 20, 30 years ago for people who like, whoa, like blew everybody's mind because they were anti-Christianity. The moment it's convenient, they'll side with the devil, Christianity. That's what's crazy. The moment it's inconvenient, they'll side with the people they spent their whole life like trying to dismantle. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You can't because it's stupid, okay? It's dumb. Okay? Okay, here we go. Next video.
Israel has a right to defend itself.
That's so funny. I'm sorry. That is the best, funniest use of AI I've ever seen. I'm fucking dead. I'm sorry. I just needed to alleviate some of the tension in the room. Oh my God. Fuck, that's so funny, bro. Oh, that's so funny, bro. Oh my God. I really appreciate whoever made that. I really appreciate it. Oh man, that's so funny. Do you guys want to see it again? It's so funny. Look at if Charlie Kirk was alive during Jesus' crucifixion. Fuck, this is so funny. Oh.
Israel has a right to defend itself.
That is so fucking funny. Okay, no explanation needed. Now. Whew, okay. Now, let's reset and reground ourselves because especially if you're new to my work, right? You're going to come in. Imagine that you're a Christian seeing this stream. You're not going to get it. Imagine you're some edgy atheist boy from Reddit. Like, you're not going to get it. We are not anti-religious here. We are pro deconstruction. We are pro doing better. I fundamentally believe we're evolved animals on a planet. Okay, so I think we are biological creatures existing in a biological reality, and that biological reality is so much more complex and nuanced than we think it is. But what we do is we make it into this reductive binary relationship with self, man, woman, black, white, when most of these things are constructs created through culture. I also believe that it's really difficult for us to radically accept that we are these biological creatures, which is why we hold on to an attachment of like outcome, even one that exists without bigotry. Just because biological creatures have evolved to add bigotry into their relationship with self does not mean that we are always going to be slaves to our bigotry, but it does mean that we're going to have to do a lot more work to deconstruct it. And because our biological evolution has allowed us an opportunity to think within reason, well, sort of, it's allowed us to also deconstruct, which is a part of that biological experience. So every time I grew up, my dad loved space. My dad loves space. He loves, like just the moon, the stars, the planet. And my dad would say, God, isn't space just proof that God exists? And it's like, is it? He would say this miracle, this thing, wow, like, oh, like this is just proof God exists. To me, this just adds more questions. Okay. And so what I want us to do is encourage us to realize that in order for us to hope that humanity would be different, we would have to first accept what it is. And then we would have to accept that we have a tendency to subscribe a narrative to action. And I've seen this on TikTok insanely with psychology stuff, with philosophy stuff, with religious stuff. Like TikTok is infamous for being ADHD, autism. This is narcissism. This is this. We are very bad at actually understanding what things are. So on this channel, what we're trying to do is actually figure out what's going on. Okay, actually figure it out. Not make the mistake that everyone else before us did. Because look, if we got rid of religion, we would naturally replace, some people would naturally replace, it's a temptation to replace God with something else. Listen, how many people have asked me, Brittany, please be the leader. I'm not fucking with you. I know it sounds stupid because you're thinking she's just a YouTuber. Why would people do this? People are animals on a planet. They're looking for a leader. Brittany, please lead this. Brittany, please be this. Please, Brittany, do this. Nah. Yeah. Okay, I don't want to be your Jesus, but I do want to give you all the tools that I have to make your life better. I do want to share my knowledge with you because I think it really helped my life and I think it will really help your life. Okay? I really think that's true, but I don't want to be your leader. I don't think we need them. I think we need community leaders. I don't think we need religious ones. Okay, I don't want to replace like God with some other like entity that we look up to. Okay, I'm not saying you're bad for wanting someone to look up to because I think that's part of your biological experience. But I think if you deconstruct it, we'll make better people leaders by not defaulting to the first person who volunteers to be in charge. Right? That's what I want. I want people to free themselves from their limited biological experience and to have a deeper one. But you cannot escape you're a biological creature. You can only have a deeper relationship with it, right? Okay, so this video really sets into motion like what I want you to think about as we move forward. And I'm going to tell you what I have an issue with her video, but also why I think she's onto something. Okay.
Experience. I spend more time than I'd care to admit thinking about the fact that humans had the opportunity to just enjoy life, to just experience life, experience everything that comes with life. Yet there was a system built to where we are working countless long, unreasonable hours till we are 60, 70 years old, sometimes even past that. We are sacrificing our body, sacrificing our time to work these long hours, these long days for years on end for a company or for a person that doesn't even care about us. The thing with retirement that confuses me is that what are you enjoying now? I'm not saying that life stops at this certain age, but it's like, what are you enjoying now? There's certain things that you can do at 25 that you can't do at 75. There's a misconception, oh, Gen Z's lazy. No, we want to enjoy life. We don't want to be in an office, or we don't want to be working 8 to 10 hours a day for a paycheck. Again, working for someone who doesn't care if we died the next day. It's not that we're lazy. And I'm not saying we're just all just gonna sit back and relax and chill on the couch, but we want to enjoy life. We want to do things now when we're young that we cannot do in 50 years. I don't like it. I don't like the system. I don't like the idea at all. I'm not vibing with this system.
Okay, so already some of you are making pretty good guesses, right? We're working so that someone else can enjoy life cynicism. I have issues with this video, but not the issues with her premise. I think the premise is fine. I think I take issues with sort of like, this is a young person thought. This is how young people think. Because there's no solution in the video, right? There's just like, I'm young and I want to experience life. So valid, girl, go do that. Because that's what young people do. They go and experience life. They don't think about the responsibility of why we show up to work. And I agree, the system is not working for me either. Okay, right? The system is not working for any of us, to be fair, right? That's the illusion. The illusion is that the system is working for any of us. But that is what young people are supposed to do. You are literally supposed to go be irresponsible and go out there and do things. But when you're ready to be responsible, when you're ready to be the adult in the room, then you don't get to just be like, bye, okay? Because, and this shows up differently for all of us, if you want to be a good community member, you have to reflect that by being the reflection of the system, okay? But this beginning part, listen to it again.
More time than I'd care to admit, thinking about the fact that humans had the opportunity to just enjoy life.
Okay, humans had the opportunity to just enjoy life. When I was going through my levels journey, okay, and I know my levels are still a work in progress. You can watch the video in the description. I'm still in the middle of like figuring it out. But when I created the levels, this was a thought that I thought was true. But what I realized is like, no, humans actually never had the opportunity to do something different. Because when I was having my bubble pop moments, I thought like, wait, is everything just like a construct and we could have been doing anything else? Yes, but no. So first you have to realize like we can do anything else. And then you have to accept that we actually can't do anything else. That we cannot do anything else any more than you can do anything else. The same struggle you're having with saving your money or getting a better job or losing weight or going to the gym is the same struggle we're universally having as a group. So in the same way that I can't just like turn my fibro off or change my autistic brain, you can't just do anything else. This is the contradiction that confuses everybody, and it can make you feel really, really out of control, but I want you to ground yourself in the reality so you can give yourself a break as well. We can only ever do what we can do, and eventually we can do more than that, but we can only ever meet that threshold again. So, you know, I always say like, I can do exactly what I can do right now. And maybe in the future I can do more, but I can only do this right now. Okay? So the world is a reflection of us as a whole, and it is exactly where it was always meant to be, but it doesn't have to stay here. It doesn't have to end here. But the dilemma is like, it starts with us. We have to start with ourselves, and it has to expand out. Okay? That's it. So the dilemma is like a young person's brain goes like, I'm going to go fucking have fun. You guys, good luck. Adults, like mature wisdom brain goes, I'm going to do my best to impact the world and still not at the expense of myself. So Uncle Iroh is my favorite kind of example. We're in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Iroh goes through this really amazing deconstruction journey where he goes from wanting to save Zuko the way he couldn't save his own son to realizing he could never save Zuko in the first place, nor his son, and only could do justice by himself. So he goes on this deconstruction journey where he eventually not abandons Zuko. This is important. He doesn't abandon him because Zuko has already abandoned himself. Uncle Iroh puts down a boundary, which is a very different thing, and says, I'm going to go pursue my joy and my destiny and my calling. Well, you try to figure out what yours is because you keep thinking your destiny is capturing the Avatar. But obviously Zuko's destiny was working with the Avatar. But he didn't know that at the time. And you can't convince Zuko otherwise because none of us knew it at the time, right? So Iroh leaves Zuko, doesn't abandon him, but leaves him to go fulfill his own destiny. And then in Korra, okay, Iroh abandons his body, not his responsibilities, but his responsibilities to the earth are done. His responsibilities to his family is done, and moves on to the spirit realm, in which Korra meets up with him in the spirit realm. And it's like, why is Uncle Iroh here? Because this is a part of Uncle Iroh's continuing destiny. Now, you might say, oh, he had an obligation to stay on Earth, to be there, to not go to the spirit world. But no. And this is the issue that we all struggle with. At what point, as a wise person, do I, on the outside, abandon civilization to go pursue my joy? And then how do you know internally that it's not abandonment, it's fulfillment? What looks like abandonment could be fulfillment. What looks like fulfillment could be abandonment. And the question is, which one are you doing? And you have to be doing it for the right reason. Same thing like, oh, I go to the gym to be healthy. I go to the gym to look better than the guy who took my girl. Like, see how these are two different things, but from the outside, you're both going to the gym? Okay, so the outside is a trick and also may, exhibit reality, but the internal is really where the truth lies. The internal is where the truth is, okay? So you have to think about that. You have to think about why you're doing something for it to make sense. So if you're a gay person who's like, I believe in Christianity, and I'd say, why are you doing this? They say, because I believe Jesus's love is universal and he loves gay people. Why do you believe Jesus loves gay people? Well, because Jesus never, explicitly said he's homophobic. And I would say, why do you believe in Jesus Christ? Oh, I believe he's like the God and Savior. Why? Why do you believe that? What makes you think Jesus, the man, is God? Answer that question. That's the question we're not making people answer. Why do you think this human being, born just like you and me, happens to be God? And that's the dilemma. No one's having that question. Even the Christian gay people, they're all having a question that assumes Jesus is God. And then they start having the question or conversation. These Mormon girls first start off with the reality that Jesus is God. Okay. Then they have the conversation about like he should be, less patriarchal. It's like, hello, that's what deconstruction is pulling everything apart and getting really down to the foundation, the crux of it, and rebuilding it back up on a much more solid and good foundation. Okay? Exactly. Chat says like they decided the child was God before the child was born. Exactly. Chat says the answer is because I've been told so. And I get it. I understand when you're coming out of religion, your instinct is not to get rid of the religion, it's to update it or modernize it. Which is just like I don't think it's a good sign. I think that's probably a bad sign. That you have to update a horrible system. So same thing, that's how people feel with capitalism. Guys, you can't reform capitalism to be good. It's just a bad system. I know people keep saying, oh, but if good people are capitalists, capitalism, you cannot reform capitalism to be a good system. It's just like a bad one. And honestly, if I'm going to be real, I think most of the systems that people suggest are probably actually pretty bad. I'm not really I feel like we're not there yet. We actually haven't created a system that would actually work yet, but we're doing our best. But yeah, you can't really just reform capitalism to be good. Okay, next video.
From these books.
Oh, hold on.
The pipeline from these.
She's whispering a little bit, so.
The pipeline from these books.
She says the pipeline from these books. It's like Bible in 52 weeks. It's the Pope's book. It's the Bible. Okay, so she says the pipeline from these books.
To these books.
She says to these books. This is adult children of emotionally immature parents and The Body Keeps the Score.
Is entirely too real. So I'm a person who's read all those books. I'm not emotionally immature parents, but I've read The Body Keeps the Score. And do you guys remember there was a lady on a panel and she brought my name up. Okay. She tried to drag my name through the ground, through the mud. Okay. And she was like, I bet Brittany Simon loves The Body Keeps the Score. Now, why do you think this woman said that? Because she stereotyped me and miscategorized me
as a person who read The Body Keeps the Score and thought it was her Bible. It's just a fucking book, like the one of many thousands of books I've read. It had some good parts, it had some bad parts. But like, it's just a book. And yes, are there groups of people who go from the religious Bible to The Body Keeps the Score and treats it like a Bible? Yes, those people are deeply traumatized. If you pedestal an author, you are deeply traumatized. They are simply people sharing their wisdom. Okay? Read the books, learn from them. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but throw out the bathwater. You know what I'm saying? So people all miscategorize each other. It's like Jordan Peterson on Jubilee saying we all worship something. He's like, you worship your wife, don't you? No, homie, we don't. No, we do not all worship something. I tell you this right now, this is a fundamental misunderstanding everybody's having. Just because you're having an experience where you worship something does not mean that's a universal experience. And for you to say that it is a problem. Okay? There's something wrong with you and your ability to think that you think everyone is having the same experience you're having. But that's how we're taught to think. We're taught to think everybody's having the same experience we're having. We're not. We're not having the same experience. Okay? So read the books, but don't become a slave to the books. You can read self-help, but know that it's a self-help works under capitalism because it takes advantage of the most vulnerable. The people that are looking for answers, the people who are the most traumatized, flock to these bubbles to look for answers. And you have to understand that a lot of the authors are looking to take advantage of you. Not all of them, but a lot of them, including the religious ones. Okay? Including the religious ones who are literally going, oh, they're going to be vulnerable. They're going to need us. We're going to give them something. It's why some Christians are pretty predatory. Even if they don't think about it that way, they're thinking, oh, I'm going to help this homeless person, this unhoused person. We're going to give them shelter in the church so we can have one more person for Christ. Not because we want to help them out of the goodness of our hearts, but because, ooh, they could be one of our followers soon. If you're helping people so they join your club and not just because it's the right thing to do, that's what I'm saying. Why you do something matters. Okay? Why you're engaging with these things matter. If you leave religion and go straight into a self-help bubble, yeah, you're probably still reeling from the trauma, like the trauma from the religious bubble, right? So read the books, enjoy the books, but don't treat the books like the new Bible. Okay? Let me see. Hold on. I see a conversation having. Chat says, here's my issue with deconstructed community. It's not as great at community building. You said, so I feel until the deconstructed hosts weekly meetings and group dinners and rituals together, people will gravitate towards religion for community. But as individuals in capitalism, reform is necessary to step to taking it down. Like I can't completely opt out of capitalism practically. Okay, first of all, I think there's a mistake in some of the rhetoric we've been taught. You guys understand that living under capitalism doesn't mean you're doing capitalism. I don't think people understand, like, being a capitalist and living under capitalism are not the same thing. I think there's a mistake in the way that we're raised to believe that we're engaging in capitalism. We're engaging with the system that is capitalistic and we're harm reducing to the best of our ability. But like, that does not make us capitalists. I am not a capitalist. I thought long and hard about being one. I thought I wanted to be one. I grew up believing I was one, you know? And so I just need you to understand there is a difference between being a capitalist. Like, okay, if I was a capitalist, well, my whole YouTube channel would be done differently. Let me tell you that. If I was a capitalist, like, I'm trying to think of what my channel would look like if I was one. I'll give you one for my OnlyFans example. Okay, if I was a capitalist on OnlyFans and I was thinking about being a capitalist, I would 100% cater to the male gaze. I would cater to men. I'd offer sexting. I'd offer like customs. I'd offer so many things that are like pornographic versus the work that I do now, which is like erotic art, it's not meant to be, I'm not a capitalist. If I was a capitalist, I'd be trying to get capital. Okay, I am a small OnlyFans content creator compared to like most people, right? Because I'm not a capitalist. The best OnlyFans content creators are capitalists. They're people who are trying to raise capital, who are trying to maintain power, right? So you have to think about it that way. Like, you are not a capitalist just because you live under capitalism. The same way, like, you are not a fascist just because you live under fascism. Okay? But if you engage in fascist behavior, you're a fascist. But like, okay, just remember that. So give yourself some, understanding, I think. And understand that. But I think it's easy to believe you're something when you're not. But that's why you have to put it into practice. So don't let these people gaslight you into thinking like, oh, well, you live under a system, so you must be in this. We are doing our best out here, girl. Please give yourself some credit. Okay? Like, please give yourself some credit. Okay? Now watch this video because I really love this narrative. Religion made you a pick-me. Listen to this.
Pick me. Okay.
Hold on, let me switch the video.
If you choose to be a Christian as a woman, you're a pick me. Okay? Because that religion is extremely misogynistic. If you've read the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, and you've seen the kind of things that the Bible says about women, and you still choose to identify as a Christian woman, you're a super mega pick me. Just own it. You're a pick me. Because why would you, as a woman, abdicate your agency and your freedom in such a way and submit to a religion that promotes your subjugation? Doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so so I think these are really, like, I think this is like calling somebody a pick-me is such a fun, interesting thing. Because like in some ways it's used as an insult that we shouldn't be engaging with because that's upholding the patriarchy. But then at the same time, right, a category of person can exist in which they are a pick-me. Okay? So she's making a very salient point that I think is important that we pay attention to. If you're engaging in a structure of belief that puts you as the secondary and puts men above you, you are then engaging in patriarchy. You're engaging in subjugation of yourself based off of how you were born. You're not even allowing yourself an opportunity to be different than what was assigned to you at birth, right? And it makes you feel less than. You'll hear Christian women, I'm going to show you a TikTok later, about Christian women saying women are not born leaders, right? That only men are born leaders. And so to engage in a belief that says, oh yeah, women aren't inherently good leaders is and allows you to actually fall into category of pick me. But ultimately, if you are a girl's girl, yeah, you can't be Christian. It's the same way when my mom says she wants to be a feminist, but the good kind, not the bad kind. Like, she wants the credit. Like, Christian women want the credit of being feminist without doing the work to be feminist. And feminism for me, again, is not the end of road. We do not want to end our deconstruction on feminism. Feminism is a reaction to the patriarchy. It's temporary. Our goal is to eventually graduate from feminism and to graduate even from gendered labels and expectations, because feminism is a reaction to the oppression. So you don't even want to end up just being a feminist. Like, some liberal people will be like, I'm a feminist, I did it. Feminism is the middle. It's not the end. If we're deconstructing and we're constantly growing and we're constantly learning about new things, then we can't stop at feminism. It's just a temporary label we use to react to. Okay? So we have to think about that. But I think she's making the point that she's trying to make, which is like, hey, wake up. You are contributing and engaging to, you're engaging in your own self-destruction. Example.
Feminists. Christian women cannot be feminists, nor can they support the feminist movement. Here's why. The earliest feminists were heavily was that you can be like God.
Ooh, wow. Very deep. Listen, let's take it apart, okay? 1, notice that the hierarchy is God, husband, wife, kids. That's how I was raised. My dad would always say, God first, then your mother, then you. Fine. My mom would always say, God first, then your dad, and then you. Fine. Okay? Remember, men are subservient to God just as much as women are subservient to man. This is the irony. Okay? The irony is that God creates servants out of all genders, but then allows men to be higher than the women to be leaders. Okay? And so you have to remember, like, this hierarchy, this creation here is what's wrong with patriarchy. So when people come into my chat and go, Brittany, you haven't made it clear. What's even wrong with patriarchy? This whole video is everything wrong with patriarchy. This whole video is everything wrong with Christianity. Okay? That's what it is. So if you're a woman, if you're LGBT, if you're Black, why are you in this religion? What brought you here? My mom genuinely believes that Christians never killed people if they didn't convert. Deadass. My mom literally believes that Christians never killed anybody for not converting. She thinks that's what Muslims do. I need you to process that information for me. I need you to really set into motion that these religious bubbles think that their leaders, their people, never went around killing people for not converting. Okay? The Crusades and all of that stuff, she really believes that Jesus inspired his soldiers to fight in his name only against people, Muslims, who would not convert, but were out to get them. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, you have to understand these bubbles that you're raised in literally have to twist history for them to justify their place in history. Okay? Chet says, what did she do with all the Catholic pedo stuff? Blame gay people. So there is a belief. I don't know if you guys are in the Catholic bubble like this. I am in the Catholic Roman bubble, meaning we are connected to the Roman Catholic Church. The Pope is the head of that church, and he's the successor of Peter. And we have a lot of priest friends. We have a lot of like very famous Catholic people as like friends in our family and like the kids' godparents. Okay. So we're attached to like the very typical popular Roman Catholic Church. Okay. In that belief system, there is a belief that in the 60s and 70s, men were told, become Catholic priests. And even though in the public will say you won't have partners, in private you can. There is a belief that there is a conspiracy. Okay, this is kind of like fringe, but also pretty like basic, depending on where you're from, Catholicism wise. There is a belief that basically liberal people infiltrated the church, convinced gay people and adulterers to join, or people who were like loosey-goosey to join the church and become priests. And those people went on to realize they were kind of being trapped and told afterwards, you can't actually engage in this behavior. So there's a twofold. They were tricked into joining and were told they could engage in sex but wouldn't be able to. And then people who were liberal were converting their friends into Catholicism to rise in the ranks to control other people. And those two theories work together, but both of them are stupid. Because honestly, and this is my issue with conspiracy theorists in general, is like, you guys don't need to talk about how like kings and queens are like sucking the blood from children to become young. You can just say people are crazy and do crazy shit. If people are willing to fuck animals and dead bodies and children, I don't know why you're acting like you need a conspiracy theory about Satan to understand that that's just like your biological experience. And it's preventable based off how you raise your kids. And then understanding that if we all raised our kids better, it would probably still happen, just like not as much. Okay. Yes. Chat says, and they're going to blame Vatican II on this. 100% girl. Yep. Yeah, that's it. So again, you like, it doesn't have to be demons or God or conspiracy theories or any, it just has to be people. People are fucked up. Okay. So when you're having these conversations and you're like, you have to understand it's just like a bunch of people getting together and being like, hey, this should be the rule. We should make this happen. It's not rooted in anything. The fact that they're referencing God is a part of the like the irony of it. Okay. But this is the whole world together moving in. That's why I say like, okay, no. Chet says your parents sound narcissistic. No. Don't do that because you're missing the point of how bad religion is.
You have to understand religion is bad. My parents are narcissistic, they're Catholic. I'm telling you, you need to understand how bad religion is. Religion makes you bigoted. It makes you a bad person. It does not make you a better person. It's religion. It is corrupting and influencing people to be horrible people. And I'm saying we need to, as people, understand that it is the religion. It is. Now, separate from that, my parents could be narcissistic, but they are not. I've read enough books on narcissism. They're not NPD. And I've read enough books that we're all narcissistic, obviously. But they do, and they do learn over time, but they prioritize religion. And you need to understand how bad religion is. Okay? And this desire to modernize it as a gay person is a mistake. Talk about narcissism, thinking you as the modern gay person are going to come make this patriarchal religion work for you. Okay? It's the religion. It's the entitlement religion convinces you have because you're right, which is giving into some ego narcissism, yes, but it's the religion. That's why we have to dismantle it. Check this video out.
Oppressed are serving the.
Hold on, let me.
If the oppressor and the oppressed are serving the same God, whose prayers are being answered?
So I asked that question over a year ago, and I don't think I actually got an answer. I just had a bunch of Black people running around in the comments with sudden amnesia as to how this question will possibly have anything to do with them. I'm not serving the God of the oppressor. Why would I serve my oppressor's God? How did you get the God that you're serving right now? How did you get Jesus? Are we completely blanking out times in history where oppressors have forced the people that they're oppressing to serve the same God as them? Are we just skipping over that because it doesn't align with your afterlife insurance? How do you know that your God is any different than the one that was handed to you? Because if this is somehow the God of the oppressed, I don't understand why oppressors just keep thriving. Are we under some kind of impression that when slave masters bought a new plantation or when they bought a new slave, are we under the impression that they did not say thank you to the exact same God that you go to church to worship every single day? And if this is somehow a completely different God like y'all say, then please explain it to me. Why are you using the exact same Bible that contained every single verse in the slave Bible? Because I know some of us think somehow the slave Bible was just created for slavery. Nope, it was taken out of the Bible that already existed. The version of that Bible that was already in existence and in rotation was where they got the slave Bible from. They did not create a whole nother Bible and twist the words like y'all say. It's the exact same Bible. Every single verse in the slave Bible can be found in the Bible that you hold in your hand today. Let's stop being around the bush here and answer the question. If the oppressor and the oppressed are serving the same God, whose prayers are being answered?
Damn. Do you know what I mean? Damn. And that's why I say, and I do love it, my timeline right now is all these atheists, like Black atheists. And like, I have never seen such a need in a community more than this. This is so desperately needed because people of color, generally speaking, and my parents are from Iraq, like we are being so fucking manhandled by the patriarchy. It's killing our communities. It is killing our communities, and white Christians are absolutely taking advantage of it. And like, this is the irony of it all. Like, I love to see this. I think this is so important and it is so needed. And you don't have to be an atheist to make it the point, but it's the point she's trying to make. Where if you're both, if like, so somebody in chat said, so religion is making people bad, not bad people attracted to religion. Look, bad people are attracted to anything they can take advantage of. Right? So let's not talk about bad people today, like a malicious, targeted, like predator bad person. Let's talk about people that are kind of good or want to be good, but they end up being trapped in these sort of like cons. So that's what the patriarchal, like Christian Catholic religion is at the end of the day. If you go back to the very root of the beginning of it, it started with a human being claiming to be God. Like, think about that process, right? Think about that idea. So you would first have to believe that a person, one of us, could be born a god. First, you have to believe in that, which is kind of crazy to think about because it's very much like akin to believing like Zeus came down and fucked a bunch of people and had babies with these like fucking humans and made half babies or whatever. It's like a crazy idea. right? That's kind of what Jesus is. He's a half baby. Like he's a half God. He's Hercules in Disney's Hercules, okay? He's like been made to be half mortal, but he's God. It's like a ridiculous narrative, but people believe in it. People believe in it. Like I need you to process that information. And then they're trying to like reform it to work for them. Okay, so I think religion makes you bad because religion convinces people their bigotry is just like how it has to be, right? Let me see if I can show this to you. I forgot to pull it up. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on, I didn't pull it up before we began. Have you seen, is this the video?
Coming in hot. What are we talking about? What is the plot? If you are a Susie, you can't be a Scott. I know it's a doozy, can't be what you're not. Ain't getting to heaven with nail paint. It's gonna be hot where you're going, that's Hellgate. They gon' have fun with you, so gon' be jailbait. There's only two, you put more weight, it felt great. I'm homeschooled, I don't follow them. They look like alien hollow men. He coming back, he gon' swallow them. I follow God and I'll never acknowledge them. I look around, I see a circus. All of these trannies are making me nervous. But I serve a big God and I got a purpose. All of these demons will burn in the furnace.
Every day a new gender. I post the truth to the youth and you censor. Can't seem to get rid of me, do better. It's 2023 and still there is only two genders. Two genders. I quote the facts, you delete, you too tender. Man, y'all gotta do better.
Okay. Okay, listen. Okay, that Christian music always goes so hard, let me tell you, okay? Fuck, I'm dead. Okay, like, listen, the whole, like, we're always, all of us out here indoctrinating our children. I can't help it. I always, when I meet a new niece and nephew, I bless them with the homosexual, just in hopes that they'll be gay, okay? So all I'm trying to say is, listen, no one is being serious right now with this conversation about like, let kids be kids. My parents legit, and this is so religious. If you grew up religious, your parents have said this to you. You were so much smarter when you were 10. You really you knew Christ then. You were so much better. You were so much smarter. You were so much more intelligent when you were a young person. And then you got corrupted by the liberal media. This is their belief. Their belief is they raised us right and the world corrupted us. Okay? Chad says you were really a beat away from twerking on that hate. Honestly, bro, I was about to turn around right now. It's like, this is what I want people to understand. Is that there is no consistency with this idea that, oh, this is how kids should be raised, or this religion is itself bigoted. And if you raise your kids bigoted, it is what it is. But the religion itself is the bigoted part. Okay, it's going to be hot where you're going. No one with nail polish is getting into heaven. These trainees are scaring me. Two gender, like all of these conversations, okay, the way they get famous, the way these Christian people get up here and get famous is through bigotry. And then their bigotry is rewarded. And I'm saying, how could you as a minority engage with a religion that is inherently bigoted? I don't know why you keep trying to say, well, Jesus wasn't bigoted. And actually, if they were Christian and believed in Jesus, they wouldn't be bigoted. Who is Jesus? Why are you following a man? Do you believe in magic? Like that kind of magic? And that's the problem. They keep trying to justify that Jesus never said those things. It doesn't matter. The fact that you even believe in Jesus in the first place is the problem. Okay, here's another video. I'll give you an example. The audio is pretty low in the beginning. I'll just tell you what she says. It says, God did not make women to lead. He made women to influence. And I think it's easy for us to forget that. And we are called to shape the next generation in our homes. And we are called to build kingdoms. And that is such a privilege as women. I grew up hearing things like this. Biblical femininity is not about being soft. It's about being set apart and being a Proverbs 31 woman. The Proverbs 31 woman would be canceled by modern day feminists. Your calling might not be a career. It might be in the kitchen. It might be in a home. It might be being a good wife. It might be being fantastic. Okay, hold on. Before she talks, I just want to say I did grow up in a home with a mother who upheld the patriarchy and suffered from internalized misogyny, 100%, and often would fall into the category of blaming victims for their sexual assaults. I grew up with a father that, though they had good intentions, would, very much victim blame, like, why were you in that position? Like, what made you go to that party? Or what made you put yourself in that position, right? They don't know how to be upset at the rapist before they're upset that their kid was raped. So because they're upset their kid was assaulted, they're upset at the child for what they feel like put themselves in that position than the fact that a predator came in contact with their kids. And at the same time, growing up, my parents made an effort to really try to protect their kids from it ever happening. But they did it in a way that actually gave more opportunity to it in the long run. Because when you grow up in a household that knows there's predators, they also end up becoming a household that doesn't have real conversations about the body with their kids, that doesn't give kids opportunity to seek that affection from somebody else, that doesn't put the kids in a position to actually just be a victim of a predator, right? Because when you grow up in a household that is hush-hush about the predators and doesn't want to ruin the party by not having them come, or wants to make excuses for how the predator was also a victim that led them to being a predator, it creates an ecosystem where you can't actually break the generational curse or the generational trauma. You actually just add to it because they're too afraid. It hurts their tummies to have hard conversations about why it's happening in the first place, right? So in order to hold the adults in our life accountable, we do have to understand where they come from, but we also have to make it clear that it doesn't excuse the behavior, right? So what happens is Christianity creates a situation in which victims of sexual assault are told that they seduced or encouraged or wore immodest clothing, which encouraged the sin of man, okay? Even though I think you are responsible for the way that you lead people down a bad path, you are not responsible for your rapes, which is different. Now, and this is the key distinction, I think some Christians don't distinguish the difference from rape and affair. So a Christian might think a woman who seduces a married man into an affair is just as responsible for that affair as a victim who dresses immodestly is responsible for their rape. And that is really hard to process because obviously you and I know there's a difference. But why do we know there's a difference? Have you guys ever thought about how we know there's a difference? Because obviously the only reason I know there's a difference is because I've learned. I've educated myself. If I'm not educated and I believe sins are all the same, and I think a rape and an affair is, quote, equal, even though we don't treat it equal, they treat gay people as a worse sin than they treat predators. Process that. Process these people treat being a homosexual as literally worse than being a child predator. And you will understand how fucked up religion is. Remember that the 10 Commandments have an affair mentioned and has nothing mentioning homosexuality. Just remember that. I know the 10 Commandments do adhere to heterosexuality within its structure, but remember that there is no thou shalt not be gay explicitly. And yet there is an explicit sin against affairs. So process that information and then understand that for me, when I hear Christianity and I hear women and minorities and gay people wanting to be pro Jesus Christ and pro Christianity, it feels like, what are you doing? Why are you engaging with this bubble? Why do you think this bubble is ever going to be reformed for it to not to make sense, or to make it make sense for you rather? Discord said it kind of feels like it's being done to them instead of to the person it happened to. It's kind of like, why are you causing me to worry about you? Yeah. 100%. Yes. 100%. It is exactly that. It is exactly that. What is the saying? This is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. To the T. To the T. Now, that is the parents I grew up with. I did grow up with parents who feel like this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. It hurts Jesus. It hurts God to see you sin more than it hurts you. They say, I grew up being told that God is more in pain sending you to hell than you will be suffering in hell, even though the suffering in hell was described to me as a child as being so thirsty you'll never be able to quench the thirst, having drops of oil dripping down your skin, melting off your flesh, while Satan laughs in your face. So let me make it clear that I grew up believing, or at least listening and considering, that a God who loves me unconditionally would send me to a hell and it would be harder for him than for me. Now process this too, because this is correct in some sense, that God will only send you to hell if you want to go there. Now I believe this, but listen to me when I say I believe it. My mom said this to me once. She said, God only sends you to hell if you want to be there. I believe that, which is why I believe I'm not going to hell. And she was mad at me one time because I said, oh, I'm not going to hell. She goes, how do you know that? And I was like, because you told me God wouldn't send me there if I didn't want to go, and I don't want to go. So I'm good. And she's like, no, God will send you to hell if you think you deserve to be there. I was like, I do not. But if you as a Christian believe you are worthless and you belong in hell, he'll send you there. But I don't believe that. I actually think I'm going to be chilling. I think if God exists, we're going to get along. I think we're going to vibe. And she hates that because she's like, no, like you have to believe, you have to know you're sinning. I was like, I don't believe in sin, right? Just as you believe in heaven and hell. No, I do not believe in heaven and hell. But if I'm engaging in their own logic, then God won't send me to hell because I don't believe I don't want to go there. But see, they think, oh no, you can't be gay. Like you have to. And I was like, no, you already said God will only send me there if I want to go there. I want to go there. Okay, I don't go there. So I'm good. Locked in. Guaranteed a spot in heaven now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but they're trying to get you to understand that you're telling God you want to be there by being gay. And I'm saying, nope. Doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound right. It just doesn't make any sense. But if God is the kind of person who would send you to hell for being gay, then send me to hell, bitch. Send me to hell, bitch. That's what I'm saying. If God is willing to send people to hell for being trans, send me to hell. Send me to hell, girl. I'm happy to go. Discourse said, why is the relationship between God and the church and its followers sound like a script from an abusive relationship or for an abusive relationship? You know what I mean? Do you know what exactly? I think what happens genuinely is people are seeking meaning. People want an explanation for what they cannot explain. But this is why if you educate yourself, you're more likely to leave religion. And I don't mean just educate yourself in general, right? Because educated people make all kinds of bad decisions, including bigoted ones, right? Very educated people enslaved people. So process that information. If you actually are curious and actually deconstruct and actually figure it out, then you would come to a different conclusion. Okay? Which is why I'm saying we have got to deconstruct what we're doing, because I guarantee you we would come to different answers. Now, don't worry. You're not going to deconstruct yourself into oblivion. You're not going to deconstruct yourself into not existing, even though philosophically speaking, like you only exist because you process your existence. You know what I mean? Like if you zoom out far enough, do any of us exist? We can't even see each other. But when you zoom in, that's what I want you to do. Zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, zoom in. Okay? So let's finish out this video. This is a reply to that stitch about women not being inherent leaders.
This is how Christianity can cause harm. This idea that women cannot lead or should not lead, we're not meant to lead, it hurts everybody, men and women. You know, some men are good leaders and some men are not. Some women are good leaders and some women are not. And this idea that we have to separate people simply based on their gender, that all women must be submissive and all men must be leaders, and if you don't do that, you're somehow morally wrong, harms everyone. The world is missing out on people. And even women who are in these very conservative, submissive roles, you still see them breaking out into leadership because maybe they're actually good at it. The faith advisor, Paula something, to the White House.
Mm-hmm. The girl who talks in tongues.
Just did an interview where she says she believes in complementarianism And yet, look at her in this enormous leadership role. And even the woman in this video, you know, she clearly feels like she has something to say, that she wants a platform to speak to people, because lots of women are good at leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to force people into these boxes,
based off gender, based off of who they were as children, based off all these limitations, is stupid.
It's just, it hurts everyone.
Yes, it does.
And also, let me be crystal clear. If you want to stay home and choose to stay home with kids, fantastic. You have my full support. So this is just about
This is the difference. I don't want you to stay home and have kids because you're a woman. I want you to stay home and have kids because it's fulfilling to you, regardless of the fact that you're a woman. Choice feminism is not interesting to me. Like saying like, oh, me staying home with my kids because I'm a woman is feminism. No, it's not. You staying home with your kids because of your gender is not feminism. You staying home with your kids because you want to be an active parent is. That's the difference. Chad says it's interesting that the religious bubble I grew up in, we were taught to question the word of God. Mine too. Well, not question the word of God, but question religion. Like we were taught to question. We were taught to read books and question. My parents just literally thought it would bring me back here. Like my parents literally thought it would bring me back to Catholicism. They let me read books. They let me go to other churches. They let me experiment. They let me like see debates between different religions. They like before, if you guys don't know, before debate was happening on YouTube, it was happening in my parents' living room. My parents, when they were my age, when they were 40 and 45, would host debates between different religious people in their home. So I was a kid sitting there watching grown-ups, either converts or other religious people, debate which God was real. And I would sit there and I'd be like, oh my God. Like literally before the YouTube debate panels, it was happening in my parents' living room. And it was cool. And these people had some street cred. Okay, they had some street cred in the religious bubbles. Like they weren't just nobodies. They were somebodies. And like that's what I kind of loved about growing up in my bubble with my parents that I did, is that they did allow debate to happen. The dilemma is they all went in just like debate panels do here on YouTube, thinking they were right. That's the only dilemma, is they have the same fucking attitude, which is why nothing ever gets done through debate, of just thinking that we're all coming with the ultimate truth. Chet says, so your parents corrupted you? You know, that's honestly one way to see it. Okay. Now, Chet says, you can deconstruct yourself into nihilism, though. You can. Okay, so let's talk about it, because real deconstruction is a pathway. So if you start off religious and you think there's like meaning in the universe through God, and then you deconstruct it into nihilism, okay, yes, but real deconstruction is going to get you past nihilism. Nihilism is not the end. It's like the one of the beginning parts. It's like one of the beginning steps out of religious bubbles, or out of like having a meaning crisis. Nihilism is so basic. It's literally like deconstruction 101 nihilism. So yeah, nihilism is like for the basic bitches. I'm sorry. And then you eventually get past nihilism. So yeah, deconstruction leads you towards nihilism, but continuing deconstruction takes you out of it again. So if you're a nihilist, you're still in the 101 stages. You are still a baby deconstructionist. You're in the baby stages of deconstruction, in my opinion. Okay, next video.
Center Jesus. Decenter meant decenter meant decenter Jesus. You know, the man who said to follow him, you had to deny yourself. The man who said if you loved your father or mother, son or daughter more than him, you're not worthy of him. Decenter the man who told you to not resist your evildoers, to just go the second mile and turn the other cheek. Decenter that man and watch what happens in your life.
Okay, the last part, though, I think is really important. That you should turn the other cheek to people, but still fight for liberation. But I agree, deconstruct. See, I don't treat people... I want you to understand that I have a lot of compassion for my parents, and I want my parents to have a good life. This is the same thing that's happening in Palestine right now. Remember that atheists are saying, that Christians who are anti-Palestinian are saying, okay, that politicians who are anti-Palestine are saying, how can you care about Palestinian lives when they're homophobic? And I'm saying, what does their homophobia have to do with the fact that they're being G-sided? Okay, I'm trying to censor my word today just because I can't have every one of my streams demonetized, and every time I talk about Palestine, it gets demonetized because I use the words. Okay, I don't have enough money to keep doing that for every stream. So this stream, I'm going to censor my words, okay? So remember that I do not believe I'm not anti-religious. I am not pro-genocide. I do not believe homophobes should be hurt. Oh, I said the word. Fuck. I'm going to get demonetized. Guys, like the stream. The point is that like, I don't think bad people deserve to have bad things happen to them. Say it like that. I don't think bad people deserve to have bad things happen to them. Because I won't engage, because who's going to make the bad things happen? Right? Like, who's going to make the bad things happen to them? That's the question. It ain't going to be me. You know what I mean? It's not going to be me. We can't hurt people and then call ourselves good. Okay? Like, we can't do that. Next video.
Women of God, can I tell you the hard truth? Feminism in today's culture, in today's society, is not of God and it's not God's heart. Now, before you come at me in the comments, yes, God is for women. He loves women. He champions our voices because he loves his daughters. And if you don't believe that, then you don't know God and you don't know your Bible. But you know what he's not for? He is not for the tearing down and the degrading and the hatred of his sons, men. That is not God's heart. The central message of the feminist movement is men are weak and cannot, so women are strong and they can. And I hate to be the first one to tell you this, but honey, you can't be a man. You were made to be a man. Heck yeah, you're strong. But guess what? A man has a God-given biblical role, and so do you. So y'all, we have to repent of our hatred for men.
Nah. Just kidding. Look, I don't hate children, and I don't hate little boys, and I don't hate the fact that they grow up to be men. But I will say this, if you uphold the patriarchy and you believe that women are less than you, I'm not going to hate you, but I'm not going to like you either. Okay? Chat said, that's an honorable amount of grace because I feel very angry. I know we're all angry. I'm working on it. Well, to be fair, I certainly wasn't born with this level of grace. I spent a lot of my life hating people, having enemies, literally having a list of people that I wished bad on. Every time I would say their name, I was like, I wish they die. I wish they had a bad day today. And now I don't do that. Oh my God, thank you. Monkey D. Trevi manifested super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My chat was like manifesting a super chat and Monkey D. Trevi came through. Thank you, Trevi. I appreciate you. And you're a member, so I doubly appreciate you. Thank you so much. So again, when we look at these philosophical bubbles, because somebody said positive nihilism sounds cool. Listen to me when I say this. I do not believe, in my personal opinion, that it is worth your time to construct a label around your philosophical outlook. I think it is a waste of your time, and it is going to distract you from finding out what's true to put yourself in a limited, labeled bubble. You can do it. It might be temporarily important, but I think it is a waste of your time. It might not be a waste of your time for where you are in life, but it is not the end of the road. Labels are temporary, right? They're there to help us express where we are, but they do not help us eventually, right? Chad says you already do. You are progressive, or at least you label yourself so. Okay, let's talk about that. So I exist on the internet in which other people don't understand because I can't explain who I am in the long form, so I use a shortcut. So I'm okay and comfortable using progressive because it basically explains who I am, even though, to be honest, it absolutely misses the point of who I am as a person. I also use the word label queer. I use the word label pansexual, but all of that still doesn't actually encompass who I am as a person. But because I'm doing a job, and I'm shorthanding it for you, it's ones I'm comfortable using, but in my real life don't actually need to exist. They are only here for you because you're limited. The world is a limited place, and so I have to use limited language to have the conversation because you would not understand me unless I used it, right? But I don't do that with philosophical outlooks because I don't need to. There's no place in which it makes sense. But because we're dealing with an administration that's homophobic, we're dealing with a world that's bigoted, using these words to add more representation is more of a positive than a negative. But using a word that's a philosophical limitation is going to cause more harm than good. So that's why I do it. Okay. Saint Infant Noor, thank you so much for the watermelon tax. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I don't know what the watermelon tax is, but I'll take it. Thank you so much. I love fruit, you know. Chat says, but it references something coherent, right? Sort of, but not really. Like I always say, like, one day we'll have better words, but we won't need words at all. Listen, the best Palestine reference, Brittany, like watermelon. Oh, watermelon for Palestine. Free Palestine, girls. Free Palestine. Chat says, do you believe in relativism? Okay. I believe we are evolved animals on a planet. I believe we are simply biological creatures existing. And anything that forms out of that existence is a relationship with that biological experience. And every relationship you have to that biological experience can be changed based off of your willingness to dig deeper into that biological experience. So I don't identify as a person who believes in relativism, because relativism is a construct curated and created out of that biological experience to explain a relationship with the universe that, like, I don't have. I don't have a relationship with the universe that says I need this label to explain like some sort of belief system around morals or ethics, so much as like I am simply a product of that universe. So I feel it's not reasonable to call myself a relativist. It doesn't make sense. Even though that's what I'm accused of, right? You just believe in relativism. But I don't believe in it as a concept. I believe it is a relationship with a word we use to convey something, but it does not correctly explain my relationship with the universe. You know? People's appetites for labels seems to ways depends on how much they want what's labeled to be shared or kept. Well, I think like the good thing about labels is it allows you to like, I like a label when it keeps a bigot away from me. So if somebody comes to me and goes like, ew, are you trans? I'm like, sure. Yeah. And they're like, ew, gross. See, then the label becomes useful. You know what I mean? The label might be useful to explain an inner relationship with self, but it never encompasses the real relationship to self. Right? Yeah, Chad says, do people confuse your radical acceptance for relativism? Yes. So people confuse my radical acceptance with relativism. They also they misunderstand that because I think we're evolved animals, that I believe in relativism as a concept. But like I don't necessarily believe that. And belief is not knowing. Belief is what you do not know. And I'm interested in what is true, not what we believe. Because I think those are different things. What you believe and what you know are not the same. So I don't find a reason to believe. Like, I do not believe in astrology, but I engage in astrology. I do not believe in tarot, but I pull up a card once in a while. But I don't believe in it. Because I don't have to engage with it. But people feel like they have to believe in it, and then they have to explain why their belief is also something they know, which is not true. Right? Chad says, but radical acceptance is a label too, right? No, because I'm not practicing radical acceptance. That's different. I'm saying I radically accept. These are different things. Just to clarify, when I say radical acceptance, I'm not practicing radical acceptance, which you might learn through DBT, which is therapy, or you might learn through a Buddhist concept. I am saying I radically accept. I am not practicing radical acceptance as a construct. I am saying I radically accept. I am not going to fight what is true. I accept the world for what it is. I do not live every day hoping it's something different or engaging with a belief that isn't true. Yes, it's an action, not a concept. Exactly. I live because I radically accept. I do not practice radical acceptance. You know? There's a difference, but I think it's hard to explain the difference because we all start off practicing. We all like harm reduction. Do you know harm reduction is a philosophy? I do not believe in the philosophy of harm reduction. I just practice harm reduction. Philosophically speaking, people who practice like a harm reduction philosophy believe it is their ought. They believe in the prescription of harm reduction. I do not. I simply believe in engaging in harm reduction. I do not want to make a prescription to you. I do not believe in it as a philosophy. I believe in the action of doing a little bit less bad every day.
That's the difference. But it's kind of like you have to first be, and then you get to hear. You know, the reason people think I'm an antinatalist, even though I was for a short time in my 20s, and then I realized it's stupid, no offense. I do not practice antinatalism. But the reason people hear me on stream, ask people, why are you having a baby? They think, oh, that's antinatalism. Antinatalism isn't asking people why they're having children. Okay, I'm not asking you. I'm asking you why. I'm not telling you you're bad for having a child. I'm saying, why are you having a baby? But people think being questioned is the judgment because that's how most people judge. Most people judge through questions. Why are you having a baby? Instead of, oh, why are you having a baby? But you might not know the difference because you've never engaged with somebody who's actually asking you why. Okay, people said, can you explain this in paint? Sure, like the nihilism thing or the believing in something. So, okay, we all live. Okay, hold on. So, okay, there's these bubbles. Okay, actually, let's go over the levels again because I think that might help. Okay, so I created a level system that explains that we all live in the limited perception of our brain and in relation to the universe, okay? We know we exist outside of our brains. Well, at least you should know that. And then we know that everyone exists within a perception that this is the only reality and like this is the universe. Okay, let's say everything outside of this is the universe. But they forget that the universe is just as important as this bubble here, which is us. Let's say, we all live on a planet and we think this planet is the only thing that's real. We ignore the fact there's other planets in the universe because we literally believe that we're the only life in the universe without taking into consideration that this is the only life we know. And if this is the only life we know, then what else is out there? Without creating a conspiracy theory about aliens who want to experiment on our bodies, just accepting that to think we are the only life in the universe is to limit ourselves into never being open to the possibility of what's out there, right? So what happens is that people exist in a bubble, which I call the twos, and that is a relationship to themselves in relationship to, let's say, planet Earth or the bubbles. Okay, so there's like the two A's. Hold on. Boop, boop, boop. The two A's, B's, and C's. The two C's just kind of vibing in their little bubble. And they just believe kind of like they have a base relationship with introspection. Okay, if you're in these bubbles, you're not a bad person. It's just to explain where you are in your introspective journey. You kind of just like focus on like what you've been given and what you've been taught. And you don't question very deeply, even if you feel like you're questioning. These people tend to fall into cults and conspiracy theories like really easily, generally speaking. They also tend to be really bad with money and have a different relationship with existing because they can't seem to get to the deeper relationship with self, which obviously shows up in different parts of your life, mental health, financial health, so on and so forth. Then people have a little bit of a better relationship with themselves. They tend to, again, themselves in relation to the bubble. So they tend to have relationships that are a little bit more stable with like family relationships, romantic relationships, money relationships, education relationships. They tend to pick a bubble to believe in, let's say one that's religious or one that's atheistic or one that's, and they make it their whole personality. You know how Christian people are always like, gay people make being gay their whole personality. Have you not met yourself? Your whole personality is being Christian. Please shut up. Okay. Right? So like these people vibing, they're a little bit more introspective, but they're still only understanding themselves in relation to the bubble. Then the two A's, same thing. You know, they usually come from these bubbles and become more introspective. And they start to realize like, holy shit, is planet Earth, like, is this it? Like, even though there's mysteries to the universe, we don't know what it is, but like, this is it. And so they tend to be people like Jeff Bezos, like a Trump, like those people who tend to say, okay, well, if this is the only thing that there is, okay, this thing here, usually they make two choices. One, to kind of fuck off and just be big kids for the rest of their life. Or two, to kind of take advantage of people, right? Because they figure, fuck it, nothing matters. Like, fuck it, we might as well vibe, okay? But if they ask themselves, but who are you in relation to the universe? They might have a deeper relationship with themselves, but they limit themselves and think, oh, the deepest relationship I can have with myself is how much money is in my bank account. Boo, okay? Now, B's, who end up having this introspective journey, tend to go straight to like level 3, which is like a bridge to level 4 and 5. And again, these levels are not so you feel superior. They're so you have a deeper relationship with yourself. So 5s are having a relationship with themselves in relation to everything else. They're actually becoming more humble because they're realizing like, oh shit, the world doesn't revolve around me and my ego. The world doesn't revolve around my little limited perception. There's more to the world than just me. I am not the arbiter of all things true, right? Okay, if I'm not the arbiter of all things true, then what is real? And then you have to go on a journey where you exist in a reality, okay, which is like, we know there's a planet Earth. Oops, hold on. So we know we live on planet Earth, and we know within planet Earth, there's all these different bubble belief systems, religions and cultures. Some people are vegan, some people are Muslim, some people are all these things, right? That's cool. But then we also understand that if we separate ourselves from that reality and just kind of hop into this little bubble over here, we can see from a zoomed out lens the limitations in those bubbles. You can look at somebody who believes in child marriage and go like, I don't think that's right. Right? I don't think that's right. Okay, so if that's not right, then what is right? And why do I think this isn't right, but this isn't, this is wrong, this is right? Why do I believe that? Then you have to force yourself to deconstruct, which means you actually have to force yourself to realize like everything that we're experiencing, everything that we're doing isn't so much our free will as a combination of people who have deeper relationships with their introspection and people who don't, which mimics this concept of free will, right? So we're kind of like having a relationship with a mimic of what we think is like free will. Okay. And for chat, please don't be so autistic about this. Everything is a label, but nothing is a label. You're not being honest if you don't understand there is a difference between labeling things and then creating a belief that is limited out of a label. Okay. There's nothing wrong with labeling things, but please do not play obtuse in my chat right now that you do not know the difference between labeling something that is actually strict and binary and labeling something for the sake of categorization. I am saying label things for the sake of categorization without making it black and white, the label that traps you. Okay? Don't be obtuse. It's obnoxious. Okay? Especially when you sit here and you try to be like, I'm a deep thinker. Well, think deeply then. Put together the language difference. Put together the reality that it's not about eradicating labels. It's about the fluidity of the allowance of the label. If you want to have a deeper relationship with self, you must allow yourself the fluidity. Okay? Fluidity. You want a deeper relationship. Shallow thinking says, well, you're this label. Oh, you're vegan, but you still eat products that are called beef and pork. Are you really a vegan? Oh, you're vegan, but you miss meat? Oh my gosh. Like, please fucking focus. Lock the fuck in, girls. Okay? So, from a zoomed out lens, we know that some of the beliefs we hold aren't as reasonable as others. But why do you stop? Why do people who are able to look at a linear path, even though life isn't linear, and go, oh, these people over here, these religious people, okay, these religious people, they're limited. And then they hop over here and don't think, how is my bubble limited? All beliefs are limited, okay? All beliefs are limited because we are limited. We are the curators of these beliefs. Beliefs are limited. Things that are true outside of human perception, that's what's true. The only thing that's real, objectively true, is the thing that still exists outside of us. Because I do not believe humans are the everything in, like they are not the, what's it called again? When you think humans are like the most important thing in the whole universe. I do not think we're the main character of the universe, but humans do. In the same way a dog probably thinks he is, to be honest. But like, I know humans are not the main character of the universe. So when Christians say you ought to make babies, you ought, because human beings must exist, you're putting an emphasis on humans I don't agree with. I don't think humans must exist. I think we do exist. Oh, thank you. Anthropocentrism. Thank you, Jap. Okay, so you have to be aware of the fact that there are human beings who literally think the only thing that matters is that people exist. And I'm saying we need to zoom out and have a deeper relationship with the fact that like this is not true, but we believe it to be true. We believe it to be true that we should have more people or that we should be the main character. But that's not true. In the same way that if somebody says, I hope all humans die and only trees exist, yeah, that's still not the right answer, but it's more of the right answer, funny enough. It is more the right answer that the planet should be given back to nature, even though we are nature, that it is the right answer to think that we need more humans. But the truth is like, we are just nature. Saying we should give the planet back to nature is saying we should give it to humans because we are nature. You know, so that's the issue. The issue is that we are not processing that we are simply nature existing, experiencing itself. We keep thinking we're more special. We keep thinking we're, you know, bigger than life. We keep thinking it's the reason I hate that. What's that man's name? What's the man's name who was in that Office show? Rainn Wilson. The reason I don't like Rainn Wilson is because he's like, we're spiritual beings having a spiritual relationship. Boo. Boo. We are not. We are not. Boo. And he also has the audacity to identify as Baha'i, which has misogynistic tenets. Boo. Baha'i? Out of all the fucking beliefs you could have subscribed to, Baha'i? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what? Baha'i yourself out of here, girl. No. So that's the issue. The issue is that these people who all claim to be on this spiritual journey are still just adhering to constructs existing and created by men. They're just still upholding the patriarchy at the end. Girl, get out of here, girl. Okay? I'm saying you need to zoom out. You need to zoom out if you want a deeper relationship with self, but you don't have to. Now, here's the other part of it. You don't have to do any of this. You don't have to be a good person. You don't have to care about yourself. You don't have to care about the planet. You don't have to care about anything. And I need you to really process that. There is no God demanding you be a good person. It's a choice. There is going to be no punishment for it. There's no punishment. When you die, you will not be punished for being a bad person. There is no hell. It doesn't matter what you do on this planet. There is no consequence to being a good or bad person after you die. Except, okay, what you leave in your wake. Okay? Except what you leave in your wake. And the question is, when you die, what is going to matter the most to you? Okay? What is going to matter the most to you? What's going to be the most important thing to you? And have you thought about it yet? Because you should probably start thinking about it. Okay? You should probably start thinking about it. What is actually going to matter to you when you die? And it's probably not going to be what you think. But you know what will matter? What you do in the meantime to the people who still have to exist in your life. So if you are a incredibly bad or good person, it will show up. My mom was telling me, we grew up homeschooled, and we grew up with a bunch of parents who were in the homeschool community, and one of the moms died. And like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people showed up to her funeral. And I bet she didn't know that. I bet she would never have known that. Do you know what I mean? I bet she never would have known that. But she left in her wake all of the good that she had done, and maybe some bad, of course. But the point is that she probably didn't know that that many people would show up to her funeral. And I think that says something. That a person probably goes throughout their life not thinking about much. But when they die, it really is in, like, the proof is in that pudding almost. And so when I die, I don't hope that many people are at my funeral. But I do hope that if you come to my funeral, you spend that time reminiscing about all the good times and all the good things that happened. And I hope that my relationship with you made your life better and not worse. And I hope that you can say, you know, that I was more of a blessing than a curse in your life, right? But at the end of the day, I also hope you know you don't have to come to my funeral. I'll be dead. I won't care. I hope when I die, you do exactly whatever you need in that moment to cope with the fact that you don't get to be around this fabulous person anymore. I'm so sorry. You know? But like, yeah, you don't have to, you know, you have to think about what burdens you want to leave and what burdens you want to alleviate before you die. But you don't have to. And I think that's scary for people. I think that's why people want religion, so someone can tell them they have to. And I'm telling you, you don't have to. You know? That's it. That's really hard. That's really hard for people. because it does put the responsibility on you, which goes back to the conversation I've been having for a few weeks. When you're ready to be the adult in the room, you're saying, I'm ready to take on the responsibility that what I do matters, not to the universe, not to God, but to me. To me, you. It matters to you. You're the only person who holds yourself to a standard. And the standard you hold yourself to should only matter to you. But now you have to live with the fact that that's the standard you held yourself to. And the question was it the right standard or the wrong one? All right. This is the last video I'm going to show you, but then we're going to dive into this girl's TikTok feed because this is exactly kind of the issue that I have with a lot of these bubbles. Let's talk about it. This is Reverend Lizzie. Don't let the patriarchy take Proverbs 31. It's much more than that. A Christian feminist priest reclaiming Proverbs. This is exactly my issue. A Christian feminist priest. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Why would we even need that? Why would a deconstructed, liberated world need a feminist priest? Make it make sense. Why y'all want to be pick me so hard? Why do you want to be with the boys so much? This is why that girl was right. That being a Christian is being a pick me. What are we doing here? Okay, let's see.
Babe of God, can we talk about Proverbs 31 real quick? I promise it's not what you think. So Proverbs 31 is one of these passages that is often used to justify cis heteropatriarchal gender binaries and gender norms for women that are relegating women to the household, to birthing babies, to doing so with like a shiny domestic bliss, I love Lucy kind of sheen on their faces. And first of all, this completely misses the fact that in Proverbs 31, the husband and the wife seem to share equally in the labor of the household. Second of all, that the woman considers land and purchases it, that she makes and sells her own wool and flaxen. So she clearly has some economic agency, if not the entire economic agency of the whole household. Third of all, they seem to have a pretty equitable marriage, and he is said to trust her, which I think we all want in our romantic partnerships, right? Is to have the trust and love and respect of our partners. But also, the Proverbs 31 woman, one, shows that God values the labor of running a home. God values the labor that has been so traditionally devalued and relegated to women. And two, it's really curious to me that Proverbs 31 is often divorced from its context in the book of Proverbs, where God is repeatedly referred to as a feminine presence, as Lady Wisdom. The exclusive pronouns used for Lady Wisdom are she and her, and Lady Wisdom describes in chapter 8 how she was with God in the beginning, before the limits of the ocean were set, before the mountains were carved. She was with God as a master of crafts. And there's a great tradition in Christian history as seeing Lady Wisdom either as a prefigure to Jesus or the Holy Spirit in the Hebrew Bible, and then that's a Christian interpretation. But the whole book of Proverbs is talking about how wisdom in God is embodied in this feminine form, not to mention the fact that the whole book of Proverbs is basically a mother telling her child how to be wise. So when the book of Proverbs is summed up, the final conclusion is Proverbs 31, which describes this woman of valor. Virtuous woman is a terrible translation. It's Eset-Chayil. It's woman of valor. What's happening here is saying that the way to be wise is to embody the wisdom of this woman for all people, not just this narrow gender binary.
Chet says she's wearing a priest costume. No, she is a priest. It's not a costume. She is a priest. Her name is Reverend Lizzie. She is a priest. She's a Jubilee Episcopal. This is her profile. Okay. Hey, beloved babes of God. Okay. Father Lizzie. Now, I don't know how much of it is a meme, but from my understanding of her content, she's like serious.
We're girls and we're priests.
Nope.
Or Taylor Swift.
Hold on.
We're priests. We just might slip a Dolly Parton.
We might. Okay. So she's like, wait, watch this.
We're girls and we're priests. We just might slip a Dolly Parton or Taylor Swift lyric into our sermons.
We're girls and we're priests. We're going to remind you that the first person to preach the resurrected Christ was a woman.
We're girls and we're priests. Of course we're going to have a liturgical Barbie in the children's ministry area with matching vestments.
We're girls and we're priests. We're going to match our nails to the liturgical season.
Girls and we're priests. Of course we're going to twirl in our chasubles.
We're girls and we're priests, and we're gonna tell you that, yes, girls can do this job.
We're girls and we're priests.
Like, what is the point of this? Like, what is even the point of this?
Give me some!
Beloved babe of God, just in case no one else says this to you today, I'm proud of you.
Why would Jesus say, I did not come to bring peace, but division? Why did he say he came to divide us? Or is that the fullness of what he said? Did Jesus come to divide us? Or is division what happens in the face of radical peacemaking? Because let's unpack what this peacemaking is. Often I think we have been taught culturally, religiously, racially, genderly, southernly, etc., that keeping the peace is the ultimate measure of love. How many of us have heard, don't say that, you'll just upset everybody. Just keep that to yourself. Just keep the peace. Do you have to wear that? Do you have to cut your hair like that? Do you have to talk about that? Can't we just keep the peace? How many of y'all have heard that before? And look, as the resident bra-burning feminist teen in my family of origin, I had my fair share of stirring the pot just because I wanted to, not because it was the loving, justice-seeking thing for me to do. Those things are not mutually exclusive, but we can contain multitudes, right? We can hold the complexity of sometimes needing to privilege someone else's needs over our own, right? That's part of what being in loving relationship means. It's part of what being a family, a community means. But I think we've lost the way when we think it is a wholesome Christian value to say peacemaking is the same thing as people pleasing. It is not a wholesome Christian value to equate peace with people pleasing. It is not a wholesome Christian value to equate peace with likability. It is not a wholesome Christian value to confuse peace with suppressing any conflict. It is not a wholesome Christian value to equate peace with never having any difficult conversations. Because whose peace?
Okay, hold on. Chat says, is it possible to take something like patriarchal religion and over centuries remove the bigotry, because at the heart of the religion isn't the idea that a man is superior, but that there's a creator? If the thing you're experiencing needs to be so radically reformed that it no longer represents or resembles the thing that it started off being, you might as well just make a new thing. And then if you're making a new thing, why do you believe there's a creator? And what does that have to do with me? Because the issue with these religions is that you believe there's a creator as a fact rather than as a belief you have. If you just believe there's a creator, but you mind your business, I don't care. But if your creator then defaults into you taking action or being politically motivated or getting tax exempt or showing up in my schools, well, now we're going to have a conversation. Okay? So again, this is the problem with, okay, here's the problem with introspection, deconstruction, and extrospection. Okay, I'm going to bring out the pain for this. Your journey is your own. So let's pretend life is linear, even though it's not. And you have this journey, okay, with a relationship to, hold on. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So when I explain the levels, and for those of you who are new to my audience, this might be confusing. So just like you either can watch the video, you can sit here and figure it out, but I'll answer questions if you have questions. Okay. On my introspection journey, you want to have a deeper relationship with yourself in relation to the universe. So remember that most of us are trained to only think of ourselves in relation to our families, our religions, our culture, our race, our the most micro zoomed in lens. And I'm saying zoom out, people. So, okay, we create a belief around a religion, and usually these people exist in those constructs. Okay, this is a bridge. 3 is like a bridge, okay, to the possibility of going further. But often people, most likely will go back to being a 2. And they'll pick a bubble that needs a construct to exist around a belief rather than knowing. 4s and 5s want to know. Okay? They want to know. Hold on. They want to know truth. Okay? 2s want to believe in something. Okay? And I'm trying to say, you need to make a decision. Are you interested in what's true? Are you interested in believing in something? So if you want to believe in a religion, in a God, in a creator, you do that. But I don't want you to pretend your belief is something you know. Okay? And so you have to understand that this is the distinctive difference, which is causing the chaos, because 2s believe that their belief is a no. I believe in Jesus Christ, so he is God. I believe in a creator, so it is true. And I'm saying, if you go in a deeper relationship with your beliefs and yourself, your introspection, extrospection, you have to know the distinction. Okay? I remember in the Discord, we one time had this conversation, and it really deviated the 2 groups of people into categories. I have a phone and I have it locked on the screen. Now, do I believe or do I know that when I click the screen, it's going to turn on? Do you guys think my phone will turn on when I press the button? Okay, it's so dirty right now. Sorry, all my Aquaphor gets on my phone. Okay, do we think that if I click the button, my phone will turn on, yes or no? Do we believe or do we know? I believe it will because I charged it and the battery was good and it just turned on a few seconds ago, but I do not know it. I do not know if my phone will turn on, but I believe it will. Okay? Boom. Yeah, baby, look at that. Woo! Turned on, baby. I was correct that my belief was a probable good guess, but it's not something that I knew. It's something that I believed. Okay? The difference is that some people think it's the same thing. So when we had this discussion in the Discord, people were like, that's the same thing though. If it's most likely going to turn on, then you know it's going to turn on. No. You believe it's going to turn on because probability says it will turn on, not because you know it will turn on. But for some people's brains, they do not see the distinction. And for my brain, I think you have to see the distinction to be more introspective, extrospective, to really pop the reality and understand, like, oh my God, we do not know things. Like, we do not know things the way we think we know things. Because there are people who think they know the phone will turn on in the same way they know you'll come back to Jesus Christ, and the way that they know God exists. Okay? So you have to make the distinction. So this is what the levels represents. The levels represents the difference between people who believe and people who know. The difference is that being a 5 does not mean you know. It means you know you don't know. So people think, oh, Brittany, you think you're a 5, so you know everything. No. I'm saying I have had an embodied experience of realizing, like, oh shit, I don't know. I do not know. And this was a fundamental life-breaking experience, because nihilists think they know. Oh, I know the world is meaningless. I know nothing matters. You don't know shit, bro. You believe that. I don't know that the world is meaningless. I don't know that nothing matters. I don't know that. Nihilists think they know. See, nihilism is just as fucked up as Christianity, because it deludes itself into believing it knows there's no meaning. We don't know that. We do not know that there is no meaning. We do not know that. So you out here acting like I know it. No, you do not. You can pretend you know that, but you do not know that. Okay? You have to first recognize, like, I don't know. You know? Chad says, why are we taught to say I know instead of I believe then? I was taught to it in school to never say I believe so. Belief is not an absolute statement. Is this something else entirely? Well, I don't know what you're referencing exactly, but different bubbles have different expectations of language. You know? Chad says you're talking about TikTok nihilists, though. I mean, I've read thousands of books. I've read so many books on philosophy. It doesn't matter what you're referencing, TikTok or these books. Most philosophers are losers in their bedrooms. Most of these philosophers are literally angsty incels. Most philosophers, most religious leaders, most men throughout history we give all this credit to. Guys, I don't know why you're so eager to think one person could create a narrative to know what is true about the universe. When are you going to get it's a collective effort? When are we going to process as human beings? It is a collective effort to figure out what is true. You cannot do it alone. So referencing nihilism as the end all be all of belief, saying, oh, well, that's just TikTok. Even therapy is a movable, flexible understanding of the mind, right? Even therapy is not objective. Like nothing we do is truly like an objective relationship with self, except for very few things here and there do we have a kind of idea of objective. So this group effort needs to be a group effort. That's why when you put these men on pedestals and you talk about great men and great leaders and great these things, it's like, bro, this is why I love the Bell Hooks reference. We read Bell Hooks' book in our book club for Patreon. And she was talking about, it was written in the 90s, God bless her. And she was talking about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, and she claimed it was a consensual relationship. No, it was not. Even Bell Hooks, who's one of the greatest like philosophers of our time, for sure, right? Had flaws in her thinking because she is not God. The image of God is the all-knowing. If we could be like God, it would be really interesting. But it's not about being like God. It's about realizing we created the lore of God to understand our limitations as people. And that's the dilemma. Okay, but I love her work. I think I've learned a lot from it. I think she's, you know what I mean? But that's the dilemma, is like people are looking for the person to pedestal because we know it's exhausting. We know it's scary thinking we might not know. I mean, that's pretty scary, but there's a freedom in it too. It's a forgiving freedom. You get to forgive yourself for not being perfect. You know, you get to forgive yourself for not being perfect. Because we really do. We're raised in this world of just like shame and expectation and perfection. And I'm saying like, we do not know enough for any of us to be perfect, you know? But I do sometimes when I view a problem or a video, I wish I could think like God, and know like a fly on the wall. But see how we view like a video at the same time, like a video all at once, and we all come away with different thoughts? That's the dilemma of being a person. How can all of us watch the same video and come away with different conclusions? Doesn't that make you curious? Aren't you wondering, how do you get down to the bottom of what is really happening? That's what I like to question. Like, how is this happening right now? How are we all seeing the same thing and coming away with different conclusions? All right.
Beloved babe of God, I need you and I both to remember something. Tyrants would love nothing more than to live in our heads rent-free 24/7. They love nothing more than zapping all of our hope, all of our creativity, all of our rest, all of our resilience, all of our joy, all of our connections to other people. It is a lie that if you have joy, if you have rest, if you have times to connect with the earth, with one another, that is somehow antithetical to the work of justice.
The work of justice? I don't know, girl, right? Let me see. Hold on. Chet says, do you think you'll ever figure that out? Figure out what? Like what is actually happening? I think we do figure it out all the time. Like when I say this, I think we do figure it out. Case by case basis, we get down to the root of the why. Like, we can see, well, first you have to be, this is what I mean to say, like, why do we go to therapy? To figure out why we do things. And we can figure it out. Like, I can deconstruct myself and figure out, okay, what's my autism? What's this? What's my biological experience? What is this? Like, we can we can figure things out. We can figure out why we bleed, right? And if we can figure out why we bleed, we can also figure out why we do things. That's what introspection is. That's what extrospection is, right? Oh, Chad says, I feel like you meant there was one big why. No. Life is not one big why, because that's solved. We exist. That's why. Why do we exist is different. But first we have to acknowledge that we exist. And then ask ourselves, why do we exist? How did we get here? And then ask ourselves if it matters how we got here. And then ask ourselves how that impacts what we do now. And then ask ourselves why we can't seem to not be bigoted. Like if you ask a bigoted person, do you think racism is good? They'd probably say no. Most of them would say no, even though they act racist. Why is that? It's like my homophobic family not wanting the label of homophobic. We're not homophobic. We just believe in Jesus. Same thing. Okay? Right? So then you have to deconstruct that. Where does that belief come from? So this desire for like one God to exist or a creator to exist, where does that come from? Okay? Where does that come from? Why do you need that to exist? It's not about being a militant atheist and saying like, there is no God. I need to prove it to you. It's about saying like, well, what's that about? Because like even the militant atheists who spent their whole life discounting the existence of God are now choosing Christianity over Islam because they're afraid of Muslims. See how they never really believed, like they never really even understood their own relationship to God? Because why would you then choose Christianity? Why would you side with Christianity against Islam? Why would you do that? You know? Chet says, can you explain bigotry to me, please? English is not my first language, and I've seen this word used a lot. So bigotry, if you think of bigotry as a belief that is unmovable about a group outside of yourself, or maybe even a group that is yourself, that you believe is inferior or less good or inherently bad, or something is inherently worse of them than of yourself. So usually bigotry is a belief about a certain group of people or thing that allows you to feel entitled to mistreatment of said group because you hold negative thoughts about said group or beliefs about said group or person or, you know, so a bigot would say, bigotry is a belief that I can mistreat women because they're less than men or they're property of men. Or bigotry is like, I believe darker skinned people are less than because they're born inherently like less than. So it's always comes down to believing. This is why bigotry is such an interesting thing. It's obviously so bad for us. And that's why these patriarchal religions are bad for us because they rely on bigotry to maintain. They rely on bigotry to exist, even though they say they're welcoming, even though everyone says they're tolerant, even though they play these games, there is a level of bigotry that has to be engaged for the religion to maintain. You know, but that's how I think about it. Okay, next video.
It's just not cool that you copy me. Like, I go to lengths to try to get things that not everybody has.
Okay, well, I can't return those.
I bought them. It's just not cool that you.
See how they're making like being Christian cool or whatever the fuck this is? It's not cool though. It's not good. Thank you.
Part 2 of making it.
Hold on. This says, remember Martha from the Bible? You know, Mary and Martha? Yes. The one who was busy cooking and cleaning and hosting while her sister's at the sight of Jesus's feet. Did you know she went on to slay a dragon? Please focus. Please lock in. Please lock in. I'm going to mute that because it's copyrighted. According to the massively popular medieval legend, Martha, her sister Mary, and her brother Lazarus went to a modern-day France to share the good news of Jesus Christ. Almost like the women of the church were preachers and leaders in the early church, as they had been with Jesus. Martha was right. What's this word? Facound? I don't know this word. Fasound? Facound. I don't even know this word. Of speech, the courteous and gracious side of the people. And then there was this pesky dragon. So the village turned to Martha and asked for help. Well, more than pesky, it was eating a lot of people, said to be descended from Leviathan. Okay. Not Mary, not Lazarus, but Martha. And with holy water and a cross and her girdle belt, she subdued the dragon. What is this? What is this bubble? What is happening here? Why does this exist? Why is this good? Make it make sense. Put it together for me. So you believe in dragons. So you believe there were dragons and you believe Martha slayed the dragon. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just to be clear, is this literal? Do you believe in dragons? And do you believe that she slayed these dragons?
Oh, yeah. Chat says Jordan was right. See, I told you, look at these dragons. Nobody ever wants to talk to me about these dragons. But, like, see? Dragons. Yeah, Chet says, I was taught that St. George slayed dragons. I was taught that, like, the Garden of Eden had unicorns. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does this all mean at the end of the day? Okay? When the devil was claiming people for his lunch, the underestimated nagging woman who knew her way around the kitchen was the one who subdued him. Girl, what the fuck are we talking about? You know? I just want to talk about dragons. Please, somebody play with my dragon. God, that's all I want, man. Just want someone to play with my dragon. Okay, let's see.
It's been a minute since I've done a totally unhinged craft project with y'all, so
Let's see. If you've ever felt crazy for seeing God where everyone else just saw sin and death, just remember who they also thought Mary Magdalene was hysterical. If you've ever been disbelieved for telling the terrifying truth, remember they didn't believe Mary Magdalene either. If you've ever felt like the only thing people see is your worst days, remember Jesus cast 7 demons out of Mary Magdalene and then put her to work as an apostle of the apostles. Focus, lock in, everybody. So you do believe in demons. Okay, so now we have to deconstruct that. So first, Christians who are gay and women show up and go, Jesus actually would have loved gay people and women people. And that's why women are priests. Okay, full stop. So you do believe in demons? And you do believe in Mary Magdalene? So see how they're not making an argument that God isn't real? They're making an argument that God would have let women be leaders. And I'm saying, why were there demons to begin with? Why was this woman possessed? Because now they're saying, was a woman possessed when she was being a whore? Yeah, chat says, so he saved her and then put her to work for him. Sounds like a pimp. So he saved Mary Magdalene from her pimps to become his pimp. Or her pimp. Got it. Do you know what I mean? See how these Christian women, like, what are you doing? How is this still not upholding the patriarchy? Make it make sense, people. Make it make sense. She's a mommy. You're a mommy? Mamacita.
Okay, so you're a rocket scientist. That don't impress
Me much.
I don't know if I'm going to post this. I don't know when I'm going to post it. Maybe it's today, but I feel like saying it. So today is a really terrible anniversary for me. It is, and for many people in my family. For all of my family. This is the anniversary. If you've read my book, you know that 4 people in my family died in a plane crash.
That's hard.
A total, still to this day, unexplained.
We're not gonna. Okay. Let's see what she says about Mother Mary. Okay. Oh my God, this is so interesting. Our Lady Mother Mary, Queen of Heaven and Empress of Hell, treads on serpents, which is true. Very badass. Okay. Here are some prayers to ask God's might. To ask God's might over the places where the jaws of death hold us. Okay, let's see. Holy God, our enemies snap their teeth, holding us in their jaws of death. We are furious and terrified, chained and immobilized. Where are you in a world that delights in demise? Let's see. Where are you when those entrusted to protect us ensure our destruction? Hold on. Your mother sang of lifting up the lowly and tearing mighty tyrants from their thrones. Can you hear your mother's song for us? Jesus, fuck me. Bro. We're begging you, imploring you, make walls fall like Jericho, Jesus. Make a genocide happen, Jesus. Please, Lord. Genocide, Jericho. Jesus loves genocide. And he's emo. Lord, fucking hell, bro. I hate fucking religious people. I'm just kidding. I love you. God bless you. Hold on, come back. Make walls fall like Jericho, Jesus. Make the rivers carry babies to safety like Moses. Make us holy traitors to empire. Make us holy traitors to empire as we trust your reign is here. And we lament that your reign isn't fully here yet. Come, Holy Spirit, come, amen. Jesus, commit genocide on Jericho. Bro, I'm gonna fucking scream. Do you get what I'm saying? These fucking modern day Christians were like, oh, this is a queer Bible story. This is God loving gay people. Where the fuck are your prayers? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? Okay, look at this. She has a whole playlist called Queer Bible Stories.
Beloved babes of God, would you like to know something fascinating about gender in the Bible? There is a literary device that is...
I know, chat says Brittany, I'm not saying the banned word today. Girl, I gave up. I gave up.
Consistently used throughout scripture, known as a merism. Merism means when you name two ends of a spectrum to name the entirety of the spectrum. So saying I searched high and low for my keys means I looked everywhere for them, right? And we see this in scripture all the time. Psalms of praise that talk about God being in the highest heights of the heavens and the deepest depths of the earth. So if we take this logic of merism and apply it to the book of Genesis, God creates male and female, we can take that and interpret it to mean two ends of a spectrum of gender. Is this slightly anachronistic to apply a gender spectrum as we understand it today? Well, yeah, it is a little bit anachronistic, but the work of understanding that scripture has a living revelation that God is still speaking, even stories that are really, really old, have the tools within the text itself to speak to our current time. Beloved babes of God, would you like to know...
Okay, do we understand what I'm saying, right? This is what I'm saying. I'm saying, what is this? You know? What is this obsession as minorities that we have with appealing to Christianity and believing in Jesus Christ? That's all I want to know. What is this? So every time someone says like, oh my God, Brittany, good news. We have another girl priest. I don't give a fuck. You want me to celebrate bullshit? It's like, you know what it is? Do you know what it is, girls? It is girl boss 2014 feminism. It is like, oh my God, look at all these successful women billionaires. No. Fuck Taylor Swift. Okay? No. Oh, aren't you so excited Taylor Swift's a billionaire? No. But she's a woman. So? It's like they want to give me bullshit and be like, but at least it's a woman. No. No. Okay? Girl boss Pope incoming. This is what I'm so annoyed. So during this last Pope, so we just had a transition in the Catholic Church. We have a new Pope. Honestly, I don't even know his name. That's how not involved I am. And there were women protesting outside saying women should be able to run for Pope or be chosen for Pope. Girls, I'm going to slap you. Like, get out. Stop trying to reform the cult. Just get out. Yeah, Pope Leo. Thank you, chat. Stop trying to reform. Just get out. Like, make it make sense. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. Like, this is what I'm saying. With peace and love, guys, I don't want a watered down version of bullshit. I want no bullshit. Okay? And that's what I wanted to talk about today. That's it. You want to decenter men? Decenter Jesus Christ. You want to get down to the truth of the matter? Stop making Christ gay and just make Christ go away. Okay? You want God and religion to be less homophobic? Stop following a man. Stop adhering to voodoo. Like, you don't believe in magic. Magic's not real. And if it is real, it's going to make biological sense. Hear me when I say this. If magic is real, it's going to make sense within the universe. So if it's real, it's going to be baked into our reality. It's not going to be something that you're going to have to hide away from cell phones. It's going to be, I'm going to be able to clock it on TikTok, bro. Okay? I really think if magic is real, it's not going to be like, even like Harry Potter. What is this Harry Potter world where like the magic world has to hide from the muggle world? Bullshit. If magic is real, it's going to be a part of the universal law. It's going to be a part of real. It's not going to be something you like hide away. It's just going to make sense because we evolved to have magic. Instead of thinking that magic is something secret and only those who are privy to it get access to it. Oh, so, okay, magic is real, but I have to be someone special to get access to it? Make it make sense. Like, is it real or is it not real? You know? It's like that meme of all these miracles are happening, but now that we have phones, we never see it. Chad says, you said we have a new pope, like you're still Catholic. Hey, you know what it is. Once a Catholic, always a Catholic, girl. Once you're confirmed, they got their their claws in ya. Chad says, magic is food growing out of the ground. Bro, magic is the fact that we exist in the first place. You know, it's just so silly. Oh, Chad says the only magic that's real is flaming hot Cheetos. Let me tell you, girls, I am grateful your band, continues to ban toxic foods. But, if they could really just bring back a healthy hot Cheeto roll, I'd be their biggest fan. Let me tell you. It'd be my only animal product that I would eat. I'm not even going to play with you. I know I've been plant-based, but my bestie's going to come see me and I asked her to bring me hot Cheetos. I'm not ashamed. You will not see me sweat about it. Okay? This is why I say I'm not even going to play with you. I'm going to eat the fuck out of those hot Cheetos. I'm going to eat the fuck out of those hot Cheetos. Okay? I don't give a fuck. I will not feel bad. Okay? Thank you. Chat says hot Cheetos are banned. Yeah, they have like a chemical in them, like the red 40 dye and the other stuff in it that's cancerous. And so European countries don't have them, or at least not where I live in Croatia. Chat says, I don't know why I forgot Cheetos aren't vegan. There are some variation of a Cheeto that is vegan, but the hot Cheetos use like the cheese, so they're not. Yeah. So this is what I want to say, girls, because I really think like this is the problem with this is why I say I'm not progressive like that. Like, I'm not anti-religion, but I'm not pro-religion either. I think religion is a step you take towards something better. Now, okay, here's where I'm going to wrap up. And then you guys can ask questions. Then I'm going to end stream because I got to record Ultimatum. Talk about being gay. It's important that we support Queer Ultimatum because it is some representation in this fucking world where they're trying to ban gay marriage right now, okay? But here's the thing, okay? Life isn't quite linear, but let's pretend it was. Okay, you got to say that every time because people really think it is. Okay, your journey is your journey. You are moving through life and you get to decide where to stop at any point. Okay, it is not up to us. It's up to you. Where do you want to stop? Maybe this is where you end up. Maybe this is where you end up. Maybe you never stop. That's my hope. My goal is to never stop, okay? That's my goal. Everybody is on a different journey, and where you stop along the way, that's on you, girl. That's the end of your deconstruction and curiosity. And you have a lot of options. Look at all these options. Okay? So you have to decide where your journey ends. I can't decide for you. And look, everyone's journey ends in a different place. Everyone's journey cannot be the same. We cannot possibly do the same things. We are all different people. So the question is where are you? Which line are you? Which journey is yours? Okay? Who are you in the story? Like I said, I never want to stop growing. I never want to stop changing. But for some people, you're going to stop. And I need you to know, I don't think you're a bad person. I do think you might be, you might stop in a place that makes you a bad person. And I'd hate to see you die as a bad person, but that's not up to me. You deciding to die a bad person is not up to me. But it is your responsibility to decide if that's how you want to die. So if you cannot understand what I'm saying, just imagine yourself, do a little meditative practice. You're on your deathbed and you're dying. Are you good? Are you good? And how do you feel about that? Okay? Jess says, do we ever truly stop as long as we keep experiencing? Yeah, I think so. Look, the world is a stagnant place. Many people are stagnant. I think most people are stagnant. I don't think experiences help you not be stagnant. I think of my siblings. Some of my siblings have traveled to 15 places, 15 countries. Some of my siblings are college graduates. I meet people all the time who travel worldwide. They're bigoted as fuck. Not necessarily my siblings, but they're definitely a part of it, right? You know, Trump experiences a lot of the world. That man's bigoted as fuck. What does it matter? An experience in of itself does not mean you're going to do the work to be introspective and take it apart. Like, experience isn't what makes you introspective. Your active participation in the dissection does. You must have the experience and then deconstruct and introspect, extrospect. Experience alone isn't enough. Just like being a minority isn't enough. Being gay isn't enough. You have to actually deconstruct what it means to be gay. Because some people do feel like, oh, I'm a minority. I did it. No. It's not just about experience. It's what you do with the experience. You know, that's why you have people who have all of these lived experiences and they're unhappy. They're not fulfilled. They don't know themselves. All these people who just like, you look at their life and you think, man, your life is so amazing. And they're still miserable. It's because they're not doing the work.
They're not really taking it apart. They're not really putting it back together. They're not really asking themselves why. It was like when my little brother asked me the other day about healing. He said, do you feel like you're healed from mom and dad? And I told him, just a reminder that even though I do think I'm healed on the main, my main part of my journey, my main quest, I'm still doing side quests like breaking generational curses. And I said, just a reminder, being healed does not mean you're not upset or you don't feel angry. Being healed does not mean that when faced with bigotry, you're not angry. Because sometimes I think you're not angry enough. You should be angry, but you should be loving and compassionate. Just like Jesus, when he walked into the temple and saw the Pharisees gambling, and he said, nah, not in the house of my father, bitch. And he flipped those tables over, and it was the moment Jesus was angry because it was justified. You should be angry when there's fuckery happening, and you should be compassionate in how you seek out justice. Punishment is never the answer because it lacks compassion. Justice with compassion, rehabilitation, actual justice. And rehabilitation does not mean you go back to living the life you had, girls. It means moving forward appropriately by playing the right role in society. Okay? We really think we've been sold a narrative that healing means I won't be activated. Healing means you won't be activated when someone puts a sock on the floor. Not when somebody calls you a slur. Being activated inappropriately is somebody accidentally breaks a dish, not somebody accidentally drops your baby and kills them. You can be angry, girl. You can be activated. Okay? We have to remember that when we talk about mental health, we're talking about being upset at things that don't make sense. It's okay to be upset over things that make sense. This person just came out of nowhere and stabbed you. I think you have the right to be a little upset. But you also have the right to show grace and be like, hey, bro, I feel like you're really having a moment. I see that you stabbed me. Let's take a step back so I can go to the hospital because I think I might die. There is just something about people where we really struggle to know when to be wise because we are not wise. And so when we imagine wisdom, it's a struggle. Okay, the whole point of the Avatar: The Last Airbender series was to show you it didn't matter if you were a Fire Nation or not, you could be the bad guy. It didn't matter if you were a Fire Nation or not, you could be the good guy. So be angry, but be compassionate. If you're angry without compassion, you're probably going to be a bad person. You're probably not going to feel fulfilled. Okay? Chat said people saying my God is jealous. Oh, I kept seeing this God-fearing people. I'm a God-fearing woman. I'm a God-fearing man. Yeah, I don't believe in fear. I don't believe anything good comes out of being afraid. But I don't think anything good comes out of being entitled either. And I don't think anything good comes out of like stagnation. But I think it doesn't matter because you're going to die. You're only here for like 70 years, girls. You're not here that long. Okay? Like, you're not here that long. And so, again, going back to this, because you're not here this like long enough, most people really just go on the journey and eventually stop at a point because like it's a lot of work to keep going, right? Chet says, I'm afraid of stagnation. Don't be afraid of being stagnant. Be afraid of nothing. Except, when you turn the lights off in your apartment and you're all alone in the living room and you have to jump into your bed and grab the covers because the monster might eat you, that's the only time you should be afraid. But otherwise, don't be afraid of stagnation. Because your fear will make you stagnant. Your fear of not being stagnant will make you stagnant. Guaranteed. Okay? So don't be afraid. Be curious. Don't be afraid. Be reasonable. Be excited to figure out what could be true. Guys, when I learn things, I get excited. I get stoked. I'm like, oh my God, I just learned something new. But let me tell you, because I'm a biological creature who has limitations, I can also get PDA triggered. Sometimes when I'm learning something new, I get triggered. I'm like, no, I don't like that. I don't like it that I learned that. Give me a second. I don't like that. And you have to realize like, ooh, Brittany, you're being activated because you're going to have to transition your whole life. I talked to my partner yesterday
And I said, do you ever think it's silly that I'm plant-based? And they said, no, I think you're probably right. And I started laughing and I was like, so you're going to be plant-based? And they're like, well, I said you were right. I didn't say I was going to be right. I wasn't going to do it, and then we laughed about it. But everybody that I talk to that I say I'm plant-based, they're like, oh yeah, you're probably right. And I'm like, what? They're like, but I'm not going to do it. And I think that's interesting. I don't even know if I'm right. By the way, I don't even know if I've got the right idea, but I'm trying. And it's my journey. It's not my partner's, but I have a very supportive partner. And that's the point, is like, oh yeah, you're probably doing like great stuff, like you're probably like doing the right thing, but that doesn't mean they're ready to change their life, or maybe will be ready in their lifetime. Who knows? Okay. Discourse says, how does one discern if their activation is appropriate or not? Well, okay. Okay, so how do we know anything? Let's answer that question first. How do we know anything? How do we know versus believe? We have the evidence, we have the data. Okay, so it's something you learn over time by pausing, examining, deconstructing, and putting back together. Okay, so one time my partner and I were playing video games. We were playing Smash. I don't even remember the whole story, but bear with me. We're playing Smash and my partner says something that triggers me and I'm upset and I feel it in my body, my whole body. The moment the sentence left their mouth, my body was ready for a fight. My shoulders tensed, my body went big, my neck got strained, and I went silent. And the tension filled the room so palatable, it was so palatable that it was like, it froze both of us. And my partner noticed it right away. And we looked at each other, and in that moment, the tension was so strong, and it took us a second, palatable, thank you guys, palatably, thank you, chat. So the tension was so strong, and I don't even remember what they said. It was something, I remember what I said to them though. I said that sentence structure you said sounds like this sentence structure I've heard from misogynists before. And I can't tell if you're saying it like them or if you're saying something different. And my partner said, I can see why you thought that. Let me make sure you understand that I'm saying it this way, not this way. And I went, okay, we talked about it. We went back and forth for a while. And I said, okay, I am activated. And I think my body obviously made the decision to get defensive before I process the information. So I'm going to need time to process and tell my body that like, we're good. Thank you for like trying to protect me, but it's not what you thought it was. Okay. Chat said, I miss what your partner said. I don't even remember. That's why I don't remember what it was. It was something about how I play video games as a girl. It was something like that. It was something like how you play video games as a girl. And it triggered something in my brain that I had heard from a lot of boy bubbles. And it was surprising to hear from my partner, given that we deconstruct gender in our relationship. So I was like confused. And it was like, what are you saying? And then we deconstructed, we took it apart. We re-examined the language. We switched where the pain was coming from. I explained why I was concerned. We went through it. And eventually we realized like, okay, we're good. It was a miscommunication. In the future, I'm going to update my understanding of this language you're using and use it accordingly. And then you're going to use it accordingly. And then we're going to keep it in mind. Okay. So that, that biological response that I had was the trauma. That's the activation. Right. And my logic, my brain, the Brittany that's me went, hey, you can calm down. We went through the steps. Your data says that this is just a reaction. You're good. And we haven't had a moment like that again about the same topic because we solved it, right? But there were separate things happening. My body was associating the words with something that happened in the past, like around being raised as a girl in video games. So it wasn't even like, it was like a trauma related to misogyny. Because your bodies are traumatized by racism and stuff. Imagine, I think it's hard for people to imagine because they don't know how much this traumatizes us. We are traumatized time and time again about our skin, about our hair, about the way we show up, about our bodies, about being good enough. Like, we have years and years of being told in subtle ways we're not good enough, and anything could trigger it back. But our job is to use the data to make sure that we know the difference between what is an activation and that doesn't make sense and what is an activation that can make sense, right? Okay. Chad says, how long do you think the conversation took? I don't know. Less than 30 minutes, probably, altogether. Maybe. I would have to ask my partner if they remember. I think it was less than 30 minutes. But, and the cool thing about it is that it was such an intense moment that it became one of those core learning situations where we were able to use this for the future. So it became like a skill. You know what I mean? It became like a skill in the relationship of being like, oh, pause, wait, deconstruct, come back. So it was kind of great in the long run. But that's the thing. That's the difference between, like, even when I have those moments with my siblings, I have these same moments with my siblings because we all do. Like, you say something and you look at this person, you go, hey, why'd you say that? Because this is what we're dealing with. We deal with it in society. We deal with it as a community all the time. Right? So we need to understand that this isn't just happening in one relationship, it's happening around the world in all of our relationships. So does that answer your question, Discord? So inappropriate reaction, I'm trying to think of, so that's like an activation conversation about like, oh, we don't need to be activated. This thing that was said wasn't that offensive. But let me give you an example. If my partner, hold on, let me give you an example of something that would be, let me see. Like, okay, I'll use my mom as an example because that's better. If my mom comes to me and says, don't you think being gay is like a mental illness? I'd say, no, I actually think given the data that it isn't, and that the mental illness within itself is something that we should deconstruct because a lot of things that we think are mental illness aren't. And then my mom might say, yeah, but don't you think that it's nature? Like nature says you should be with a man because you can have a baby with a man. And I would say, yeah, I don't think so. I think based off the data, we would have to look at different relationship structures and we would come to the conclusion that relationships just aren't based off having kids, but we could have that conversation. And then she would say, well, do you think you were molested as a kid and that's why you're gay? Which my mom, this is a real conversation I've had with my mom 1,000 times. I said, Mom, I don't have any memory of being molested as a kid, but if you know something, you should tell me. And she said, well, no, I don't know. I'm just asking you, do you think you were molested? And I was like, no. Do you think I was molested? And she'd be like, well, I don't know. I hear kids who are molested become gay. And I was like, yeah, I don't think that's true. And then she'll ask me for the second time and the third time and the fifth time. And then eventually I will get triggered. And then I will disassociate. And then my mom has to recognize like, hey, this is triggering. Now, to be fair, the last time this happened, I was in the living room with my family and I did disassociate. And my sister went, stop it, you're upsetting Brittany. And then my dad went, stop it. She said she wasn't molested. Stop talking about it. She's fine. And that's the thing. It's like, no. Chad said, see, I didn't see use the label narcissist so loosely. No, you're wrong. Okay. Do you know what my parents are? They're autistic. I know you don't want to hear it. My parents are narcissistic. They're autistic. That's what they are. I guarantee you, because what you think is, a lot of people think autistic people are narcissists because when they don't understand something, they ask the question 1,000 times to the point where it's triggering. Autistic people aren't asking to piss you off. They don't know. My mom was raised in a bubble where they really believed, and this was very common, that molestation led to same-sex attraction, right? Chad says, isn't she just saying that to hurt you though? No. My mom genuinely doesn't understand. I need you to process that I have done 30 years of work with my mother. She doesn't get it. This is why I say none of you, my audience, but no one cares about people. No one cares about how people work. I'm telling you right now, she doesn't get it. And I'm telling you right now, people don't get it. You think people are tricking you? They don't get it. And the issue is that they don't have to get it to be responsible for what they did. Do you understand it? She's still responsible for what she did, even if she doesn't get it. But they don't get it. And I spent my whole life I believed if I was smart enough, I could get them to get it. And what I learned through therapy is you can't. Just like my therapist told me, it doesn't matter how hard you understand your parents. If they don't do the work, they will never understand it. And if you spend your whole life waiting for them to get it before you live your life, you'll be dead. And that's why I have an open but with boundaries relationship with my parents. Once I radically accepted that my parents didn't get it and wouldn't get it unless they wanted to, I made the decision not to waste my time trying to get them to get it. That conversation we had was years ago. That was a years ago conversation. It has not reoccurred. My mom has not brought it up again. That was the last time we had that conversation. We've had it a few times over the years, but a few years ago was the last time it happened. And when I say I want to be the adult in the room, I'm saying I want to be the adult in the room that when my kid comes to me and says something, I don't keep asking stupid questions. I get to the answer of it. Because adults are by choice stagnant, but you have to understand that if my parents decided to really know better, they probably wouldn't be religious. Which is why it's interesting to see gay people or feminist people claim to be Christian, because it sounds like you didn't do the work. Because how could you be Christian and still follow, or how could you be a feminist and still follow a man? How could you still be religious and talk about women killing demons and fighting dragons and still talk about like what could be true? I'm telling you right now, my parents do not get it. But that does not, and I need you to hear me when I say this, or that does not take away their responsibility. Okay? That's it. You can hold people accountable, but you have to meet them where they are. I don't want anything bad to happen to my parents, but I tell you right now, they don't get it. And that it will free you from understanding this. It will free you. My life is so much better now that I've realized like, oh, they don't get it. And the same way it has freed me, and hear me out when I say this, to realize 99% of the people on the planet don't get it. And that I used to be one of those people who didn't get it. And I'm still going to be one of those people who don't get it until I do. I guarantee you some Gen Alpha kid is going to come to me and say, Brittany, actually, this is it now. And I'm going to say, I don't get it. And it's going to be my job to get it. When people come to you and say, I'm non-binary, I'm gender fluid, I'm all of these things, it is your job to say, I don't get it, but I'm going to really work to understand it. Otherwise, you're just the boomer parents we were all traumatized by. It is your job as the adult in the room to get it. And the fact that people right now are not understanding it, okay, that you have to stop repeating these patterns of our parents. Like, you might think the worst of my parents, but how do you think I feel watching other millennials copy exactly verbatim their actions? Chances if they can't get it, doesn't that make them blameless? No. 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 No, because, and this is what I mean being the adult in the room, you're too privileged to not know better. And your information is too accessible to you to not know better. And not only that, but even if you didn't seek out that information, you still have to be accountable. It just, the level to the accountability is different. So when we look at accountability, we take into consideration where people came from. Why did you do this action? Like one size fits all is never the solution. We do not have one size fits all solutions, but we believe we do. This also plays into the issue I have around these constructs, is religion sort of has to exist in a construct that says there's a one size fits all solution, right? Chet says, but if your mom can't get it, why is she still asking? Sorry, I'm so confused. For the same reason you keep asking me. Why aren't you getting it? I'm not coming at you. Think about it. Why are you asking me a question again? For the same reason you don't get it, my mom doesn't get it. That's what I'm saying, right? You are confused, right? So is my mom. She is actually confused. That's the point. They are just as confused as you are. We're all just as confused as everybody else is. I just ask that your confusion doesn't also, like, the problem is that us not understanding is why we're bigoted. This is the problem. Chet says, I'm trying to understand, but I'll stop though. Well, don't stop. But I would recommend you recognize that human issue you're struggling with is what everybody else is struggling with. Like, they're no different. Nobody on the planet is better than the other. Except when we start to judge through our constructed values. Everyone is just an animal on a planet learning to be better. And then we hold them to different responsibilities based off of their ability to eat the cupcake. So you give them a cupcake, you say, hey, here's your answer, read this book. And they go, I don't want it. Okay, well, now your responsibility is going up. And so the consequence is going up. Like the kids who don't come home for Christmas dinner. Like, if the parents are unwilling to recognize what situation they've created that their kids don't want to come home for Christmas, that's still their responsibility to figure it out. It's still this is why you'll see minorities say it's not my job to educate you, because at some point we have tried so many times to do it and you will not listen. So now it's your responsibility to figure it out. That's it. But that's the dilemma. Is like, it was never that way at first. People act like they haven't asked the same question 1,000 times and refuse to actually engage in the information before people get tired. People are genuinely, most of the time, so excited to teach you things. But we are tired when you've asked the same thing 20 times without willing to engage in the information yourself. And then we go, you know what, girl, you figure it out on your own because I can't do this. Because again, it's a symbiotic relationship. I tell you stuff, you digest and deconstruct. I tell you stuff, you figure it out. You tell me stuff, I figure it out, and it goes back and forth. But if I keep telling you stuff and you ignore it, like my parents, well, then I'm going to stop talking because now I'm wasting all my energy on you. Right? That's what it is. Okay? But yeah, Chat says, realizing your parents stopped growing is wild, and realizing how much they don't understand that they're just people and the disappointment in that. Exactly. Oh, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Discord said, I think I have the tendency to downplay my own activation to things. Being too emotional is not a big deal. You're too sensitive, sort of thing. Maybe you are too sensitive, but ask yourself why. Ask yourself, if I could be less sensitive, should I be more sensitive? Maybe I should have a better relationship with my sensitivity, right? Like, you know, Chet says, I think activation is always appropriate. It's the reaction that may or may not be. I think activation is just a reality. Like, it's okay, but it doesn't mean that it's, I don't know. I don't like the word appropriate myself, because I think appropriate for me when I was learning DBT was like, it's real. My activation is real, but is it appropriate? Helped me get better. It helped me do the main quest of healing because I couldn't figure out what was appropriate, right? Like, in one way, you hear people say, stand up for yourself and don't take no shit. But I didn't know how to appropriately stand up for myself and take no shit. So you have to learn how to appropriately stand up for yourself and take no shit. Okay? Like with my parents, I learned to be appropriately, like how to appropriately respond to their stagnation, right? So the activation, yeah, is real. Yes, chat. The activation is real. You have to determine the appropriate response. Yeah, I'm always trying to figure out, like, is this appropriate? Am I entitled to this thing? And that's what's difficult too. Are you even entitled to this reaction? I am not entitled to expecting my parents to accept me as a gay person. But I am entitled to limiting my interactions with them as a gay person to the point where I am not obligated to talk to them if I don't want to. But I am not entitled to force them into accepting something that they don't believe. But I am, and I believe the government should legally put people in the position to accept whether you like it or not, gay people exist. So as an example,
They're talking about interracial marriage being left up to states' rights, and I need you to process that information. They are talking about bringing interracial marriage back to states' rights. What does that even mean? What does it even look like? Who's considered interracial marriage? What happened to all of the policy we enacted over these years to make it so we didn't have to do that anymore? The fact that Americans are not upset at this conversation saying, like, stop it, you've gone too far, is the point. What does that even mean? Like, it's so stupid. And people are going to let it happen. And these same adults who are going to let it happen want to be considered intelligent. And maybe they are biologically intelligent, literally. But how are we not engaging with it? You know, so the government has to come in and say, it doesn't matter if you don't like interracial marriage, it's legal. That's what the government should be doing. It should be representing us as a people. And us as a people is diverse. But instead, they want to implement religious doctrine into government policy. It's like, girl. Chet says, sometimes I do wonder if homophobia is some type of mental illness. It's more illogical than schizophrenia or OCD, etc. to me. With peace and love, you cannot mean that. Homophobia makes so much sense. Guys, schizophrenia and OCD are disabilities that are happening because of the functionality of the brain. Like your relationship with the brain, right? Like the homophobia is literally just taught behaviors. Can you teach someone to be schizophrenic? I think you might be able to teach someone to be OCD, actually. But can you teach someone to be schizophrenic? Like, mental health isn't even mental. Like, you know, BPD isn't like a mental illness in the way that people think it is. It's not like it's a learned behavior, right? So I think sometimes when I think about these things, it doesn't make sense to me to not understand that bigotry is often learned. It sometimes is reactive, right? Like sometimes you'll become bigoted towards a group of people that have attacked you and you associate all those people with your attackers. That is like trauma-related bigotry, but also bigotry is often just taught, right? But like, I do think like you can be, because BPD is like a environmental mental health irregulation, right? But I struggle, I guess, with saying like bigotry is mental health. Bigotry is a lack of introspection. A lack of introspection can lead to more mental health problems, but it doesn't mean that it isn't just a lack of introspection. And you don't have to be mentally ill to be bigoted. Like, this is why DBT is a form of philosophical work with Buddhism and the mental health sciences, is it combines the idea that with the right level of introspection, you can actually get healthier. Like depression can be a matter of introspection, but not all depression is a matter of introspection. So you want to be careful that you understand that the differences exist there. There's nuance there. Because conservatives will say, well, if depression is a matter of introspection, then you choose to be depressed. But that's not exactly true. Right? So you know what I mean? But like, we are biological creatures. Like we are just animals figuring it out. So you have to understand why it happened in the first place. And every case is different. So if you've met one homophobe, you've met one homophobe. Homophobia is not a monolithic experience. Just like racism isn't a monolithic experience. Okay? There's different types of racism. There's different levels to it. There's different levels to all of this. So you have to decide which kind of person am I dealing with? What's their level of bigotry? And what do I do about it? Okay? The same way when you have white liberals in your neighborhood who are like, what did Biden say? I think black people can be smart too, or black kids can be smart, or whatever he said. He's so racist, but he's a liberal racist. You know what I'm saying? Like that's still racism, but it's a different kind. You're dealing with a type of racist. And so you have to remember that you're always dealing with a type of homophobe, you know? So like my family often is homophobic, but it's a different spectrum of homophobia. But if people introspect and deconstruct, they'll come away with different conclusions, hopefully, but it's going to be dependent on how deep they go. I'm fighting a sneeze so bad right now. Oh my God. I'm fighting a sneeze so bad. Okay, now do we have any last minute questions or comments in regards to this topic? Oh yeah, Chad said if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Joe Biden. Classic. Wow, what a piece of shit. Chad says my siblings
A sibling is now using neo pronouns and I'm having so much trouble understanding them, but I'm taking the steps to educate myself on them. I feel so bigoted for not understanding. Are you just prejudiced or are you bigoted though? Because if you're not, you could just be prejudiced. Remember, these are different things as well. I highly doubt you're bigoted. If you were bigoted, you probably wouldn't be taking these steps. But you could be bigoted. Maybe you're just prejudiced. Maybe you're like, I don't know about this. Sounds silly. That's not bigotry. That's prejudice. Right? But like, you could be bigoted. Maybe. I don't want to speak for you. But also, there is a difference between being prejudiced and bigoted. Prejudice is the better cousin of bigotry. But it's not good. You know, it's still bad, but it's better, you know. Yeah, I think yeah. Chet says, Brittany, what do you think about Alex O'Connor on Rainn Wilson saying he doesn't think believing God is stupid or irrational? Would love to hear your thoughts about it. I don't know. I don't care for Alex O'Connor that much. I mean, I like him well enough, but I don't like him that much. He's just a typical atheist to me. And he isn't a very deep, the way he engaged with veganism as an example tells me he's not a very deep thinker. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, it feels like he's lacking in some stuff that's a little boring to me. But at the same time, I watch him on occasion. I don't have much to say about it, to be honest. I mean, okay. Yeah, I don't have much to say about it. I just think like Alex is stunted in his thinking, but that's why wouldn't he be? Look at who he surrounds himself with. Look at who he's talking to. Look at the way he engages with topics. Like, I just feel like he's probably like, is this the smartest he's ever going to be? Probably. Like, is this the most introspective he's probably going to be? Yeah, probably. Unless he works on it. You know, I don't know. But I mean, I don't think it's stupid for people to believe in God. I don't think it's stupid in a sense, right? That says Alex says he isn't an atheist. He's an agnostic and doesn't agree with the atheist labeling. Okay, well, I don't care. That's my opinion. I don't care what Alex O'Connor thinks. Does that answer your question? What did he say about veganism? He became a vegan and said it is the most logically sound. Went on debates, debated veganism, and then decided not to be vegan anymore because of health problems, but said it's probably correct. And I just don't think he understands veganism as a philosophy. If you understand veganism as a philosophy. So it's like you identified as this thing, you went and debated it, but then didn't even understand it, and then are no longer vegan, but then were you ever vegan? Do you know? Because by definition, now that I've learned more about it, like he was never vegan. Right? So it's like, it's stupid in a sense because like he's not even doing the work to really understand that he was never vegan. But then he made all of that mess going around and debating people about veganism. It's just silly. Like, I don't know. He just seems silly to me. No? Yeah, health problems is always the excuse. It's always the excuse. Health problems are always the excuse. And I'm not saying he can't make them. I'm saying I'd love to see a video where he made a video saying like, I was never properly vegan. And that was on me. I didn't do the work to really understand it, which is why I don't identify as vegan. Because I take it pretty seriously. Guys, if I ever come out here and say I'm vegan, I need you to know that it's so serious. I'm not vegan. It's too serious of a label. Like, it's not even funny, like how serious it kind of is. Like, it's only serious because it's like, if you understand it. Most people don't get it. Most people are not getting it. But it's like, that's why I'm not out here saying I'm vegan. You know? You know, but at the same time, it's all a construct. But if you believe in the construct of veganism, it's kind of like Catholicism. When people say like, oh, I'm Catholic or I'm Muslim, but I'm haram. No, you're not, bro. Barely, bro. Like, be serious. I'm too autistic not to be so serious about this. Be serious. You know? Like, be serious about it, please, because it's so silly. It's like the whole anti-racism thing. Oh, I'm not racist. Please be serious. Oh, I'm not homophobic. Like, you're not serious enough for me. Like, you're not serious enough for me. I don't expect perfection, but you're not serious enough for me, and so I'm bored. The labels are constructs, so they're temporary. But I think it's pretty serious. But only because it says something, it's saying something serious. You know? But, you know, these are all constructs in the end. So it needs to be dissected and deconstructed and understood deeper. Ooh, I love that. Discord said understanding is an inside job. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I love that. Chad says, what do you do when I want to go down the plant-based journey, but you found it too difficult? Do I just wait until it clicks? Oh, okay. So I think if you're going to go down any journey, it should be for the right reasons. You know, it should be for the right reasons. And the right reasons should be an embodied understanding. You know how Ethan Klein pretended he was progressive, but he didn't have an embodied experience? That's why the moment life got hard, he went back. Right? Like when temptation comes knocking and we revert back, it's because like the values aren't as consistent. Now, let me say this. I'm not black and white with the values. I'm just trying to do less harm in the universe. That's my primary value. Okay? Curiosity, personal value, external value, extrospective value, doing less harm every day. That's it. Okay? That's all my goal is. I take on the plant-based journey because it coincides with my journey to do less harm in a way that coincides with my value of do less harm, right? But if you're not doing it for the reason that coincides with your values, like the plant-based value can't be the value in and of itself. Veganism is not the value. The value is why you're vegan. The values are why you're Christian. The values are why you're progressive. The values come first, then the label. My values, the communication. The values, the identity. So you know, Chad says, how do you get your protein in? What's your go-to? Beans, tofu, soy, all of that stuff. Love it. I also just have lists, guys. I just have lists of everything that holds all the things I need, and I do that. Chad says, did that make sense? Let me know. Chad says, do you mean that people don't really get the full scope of not consuming animal products, buying leather? No, I mean, philosophically speaking, veganism believes that animal life has just as much agency as human life, and that animals aren't here to be exploited for our labor, that they are their own entities. Like, you know, in the Pokemon universe, people eat Pokemon. But doesn't that sound kind of crazy? Like, if Pokemon were real, and they're called non-human animals, and you ate a Pokemon, I would think you were the fucking devil. You are eating a Pikachu right now. Hi, are you crazy? But like, that's the thing. Like, some people in the Pokemon world who are criminals, like a lot of Rocket Power? Rocket Power is the name of that show I used to watch as a kid. Why am I forgetting everyone's names? What are Justine James part of? Team Rocket. Oh my God, Rocket Power. Stop it, millennial brain. Team Rocket apparently traffics Pokemon and eats them as a part of the lore. And I think that's interesting. You know? But also, you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking about people who have pets and then give them away easily. And I was thinking that's so fucked up. But also, Ash gives away his Pokemon all the time. He just doesn't give away Pikachu because that's his Pikachu. Like, Indiana is my Pikachu. But other people, not all their animals are Pikachus, so they give them away the way Ash gives away his other Pokemon. You know what I mean? Just think about that. I just think it's interesting. Again, it's not about perfection. I am never going to make a prescription to you. If you're new to my channel, I am not going to have an issue with how you live your life as long as it's not like literally bigoted or you're doing really horrible things to people. You know, you just have to make a decision on how you're going to be a better person in the world, right? Chess says, isn't your problem the same as Alex in some sense as in accepting the label of veganism? You know, Chatter, you deeply misunderstand me. I think you show up in my chat and you try to understand me, but you keep trying to talk to me like I am in this like fucking bubble that I'm not in. It feels like you're not talking to me. And I can't tell if you genuinely don't understand me or if you're just so in that fucking debate bubble, you cannot understand me. But you're always the unique chatter. I always notice your name. And you just like, I don't know, something about the way you talk is like, I don't know if you're 13 and in the debate bubble, or if you're 27 and you only understand when men talk, or if you're like 50 and you genuinely have never met somebody like me. But sometimes the way you ask me questions, I don't know how to answer you because it feels like I'm talking to a boy in college and I don't get it. Why do you watch me? Like, I can't figure it out with you. Not to like point you out or something. I just don't get it. Like, I don't get how like you ask me questions like I didn't just say the thing before. Are you my mother? I'm just kidding. Are you my mother? I'm just kidding. Okay. Okay, anything else on this topic before we end stream, girls? I'm wrapping it up. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. I got to record ultimatum. I'm going to run out of spoons. I got to eat, record ultimatum. Chad said if your parents were one day not homophobic, would you think they aren't truly Catholic then? Yes. I do not believe you can be Catholic and pro-gay. If my parents deconstructed Catholicism, okay, and decided not to be religious and decided to be pro-gay or like, you know, not bigoted, that would, first of all, hell would freeze over. That'd be crazy. And then second, yeah, they wouldn't be Catholic. I don't think you can be Catholic and be pro-gay. I don't think you can be Catholic and pro-women. I don't think you can be Catholic and pro-black. Oh, I'll go a step fucking further. I don't think you be Catholic and pro-black. There, do that what you will. Okay? Chad says I meant what I said. Wait, I meant what was I said that was wrong. Can you point it out? Habibi, I appreciate you in chat, but like we're not talking. When we talk, we're not having a conversation. It feels like sometimes when I talk to you, it feels like you're saying, but honestly, you said, but honestly, what went wrong with my comment? It could just be a language barrier, but I doubt it. You talk the way it felt like when I was in the Debate Bro bubble with Destiny and all those boys. It felt like when I said something, you guys just didn't know how to engage with what I said. And you were requiring me to engage with what you said, but I don't care. So when you said, like, do you like Alex O'Connor? You asked me an opinion. And I said, no, I don't like the way he thinks. Here's why. And then you said, oh, but like, it was almost like you were debating for Alex instead of just understanding. You asked me if I liked a YouTuber and I said no. And then you're like, why not? I don't like the way he thinks. He's not introspective. Oh, but why not? What do you mean? I don't think he thinks deeply about the topics he is covering, i.e. veganism. He seemed to have a shallow understanding, i.e. he interviews Richard Dawkins and bigots all the time, i.e. doesn't understand things. And then you're like, yeah, but why? Why what? Like, do you want to have a full conversation about why I think it's bad thinking to not understand like the bigotry? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you asked me an opinion and I gave it to you. That's the opinion. I don't enjoy his content as a thinker. Because you asked me my personal opinion. Unless you're asking me like, you know, you said perhaps a language barrier, but I'm not saying you shouldn't like him or you should like him. I was asking your take on it and you said you felt what you felt and that was it. And then what went wrong? I don't know, Habibi. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's like, maybe we're just having problems in the chat with language because I'm on verbal and you guys are on text. Who knows? Who knows? Let's see. You said, I know a lot of Catholics like that, cannot deconstruct and think critically of their beliefs. How can my mom be Catholic and pro-gay and anti-racist? I still don't understand the obstacle. I know. I know, girl. I know. It is what it is. You know, what are you going to do? Okay, girls, I think we did it. I think we got there. Let's call it a day, but I'll be back tomorrow. So if you have follow-up questions, I'll be back, girl. I will answer those questions. You know what I mean? We'll have those conversations. And we'll go through it together. This was fun, though. Just remember, if you're a woman, gay or black, you might just like want to leave Christianity. Decenter men, decenter Jesus Christ, and every Abrahamic religion that follows through or relates to it. Again, I was just raised Catholic, so that's the group I targeted, but it relates to every religion out there. That does not mean I'm going to throw away my Bible. I still have my Bible, and I still read it on occasion, and I still learn a lot about my life, but not because it's correct. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hold some wisdom. Don't throw away your Bibles or Qurans or Torahs. Just stop treating them as anything more than some thoughts from some people. They're just thoughts from some people, okay? All right, girls, see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you in a non-parasocial way. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. Bye-bye.